Rhino.
That is what happened in the news.
Randomly.
And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. They have no connections to the city. They have no families they're raising in this city. They have no one that they're sending to school in this city. They have no jobs in this city. They have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the vice president are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to and the voices of officers. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Stephen. A few questions.
Mr. Vice President, why are troops staying
officers? So we're going to ignore these.
Well, that's not the right photo, but there we go. Here we are. Hello, humans. Oh, is that you there? Sorry, didn't notice you. This is your power report. This is the 21st of August, 2025. Bam just farted. I am Dan. Bam is sticking up a storm out here. I don't know, man.
You can smell me in the bunker. I'm Bam, and it is hot August.
Oh, it's hot out there, really? I wouldn't know. We've out here on the East Coast, or as Bam knows it, 2 hours to midnight. We've been dealing with a little bit of the bands, the outer strands of was it Hurricane Aaron? Is that what we got going on? Yeah. You think I should know? It was raining a little bit, but it's just been really windy today, which I will take. Absolutely, I will take.
I'll be fair. It actually hasn't been that hot of an August. It is probably the coolest August I've experienced ever, maybe. But just like this week, like actually like yesterday, it hit like 90. But and I think it's supposed to cool down next week. So maybe we got all the hot weather in January.
This is what y'all have to look forward to for Power Report for the near future is the first
Another
beginning
weather
minutes
report.
yeah, being some there is not a single leftist weather show on the internet, and I think that's an untapped market we can untap market. Instead of the Doppler radar, we just have like logos of oil companies being like, well, as you can see, because of ExxonMobil, we've got this new development happening over on the coast, and that's how it goes. I don't know if y'all knew this, but we're in hell, and we are. I don't know if people can hear that or not. Maybe it's just like on my end, but it's like a sort of like a crinkling noise. It's the same like farting thing I was complaining about with Bam earlier, but it could be on my end. I'm trying a bunch of new stuff to make the show run like normal, but like I was saying, I don't know if folks know this, but we're in hell. It's very cutesy to be like, and we have done this in PowerPoint plenty of times, being like, oh, fascism has been in America for a long time, and there's been a lot of precedents that have led up to this moment. There have been a lot of different times where like streets have been occupied, the military has been called out, but like just glistening of some of the things that have happened this week before we jump in. Texas lawmakers, Democrats who have returned back to their state, are being told they have to sign a paper basically giving up their freedom, or else the Capitol Police, I'm sorry, like the state police. I don't know if it's the Texas Rangers or whatever, but there's one lawmaker who refused to sign the paper, and she was essentially being held hostage in the state capitol and wasn't allowed to leave, being locked in her chambers. You have police, like different agencies, not just being deployed to Washington, D.C., which we talked a little bit last week when Sachi and Forrest were on, but red states that are sucking up to Daddy Trump are sending their own National Guard to Washington, D.C. as a show of force and a show of support. Not only that, but many of these same National Guardsmen, some of whom are being dragged from other areas of law enforcement throughout the federal government, whether it be the DEA or the FBI or whatever, are being given the opportunity to do civilian, they're practicing for using sidearms and weapons like that in civilian quarters, civilian chambers. Not only that, but the Clippers in the preseason are looking pretty good. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like there's the occupation internally in the United States is it's no longer a slow creep. It is a orange creep that is getting here faster and being more prevalent out here. And ever since moving to the East Coast, I don't really care about what happens to y'all out there. So it'll be really, no, I'm kidding. It's been hard to take my eyes off what's been happening, even, of course, like in Los Angeles, where this was a blueprint, essentially, for what's starting to happen across the country. This is just August. This is just where we're starting. So I'm curious how you've been living with yourself. I say that as a joke, honestly, but also, like, truly, how have you been moving on a day-to-day basis, knowing that, like, everything we were told as kids about, oh, well, you don't want to live in Soviet Russia, or you don't want to live in communist China, you won't have rights, you won't have freedom of speech, there'll be secret police everywhere you go, you're going to need an ID to buy groceries. Now, here we are. So, how are you? When did you know this was all a lie, man?
Well, I'm Black, so I was born knowing it was a lie. But it is really it's just, it hasn't stopped. Like he's kind of started this whole thing. It seems like it was like June when the whole ramp up against, or the whole ICE ramp up started, or maybe late May. I can't remember, but it's continuing, and it's effectively our reality at this point. And it's only going to get worse because I think that, amongst other things, it is also like his way of distracting from other issues, we'll say. But yeah, we still haven't gotten any like any respite from this. I was just seeing a story about um, a father who dropped his kid off at a school in Encinitas, which is like northern San Diego County, and he got detained by ICE, and the principal, released a statement. The principal of that school released a statement. Um, that's like really traumatizing, not just for that child or that uh, man getting detained like that, but also for all the other kids and parents that had to see it because it was around everybody. Um, you hear the story. I forgot where it was, but the guy like dipped off on ICE. He was like, "I'm not stopping. Like, what the hell? Like, I don't even know who you are." Like, there's people that are literally like asking them, "Who are you? Please show me some identification other than your vest," and they will not do it. Like, they're literally saying to people, "I don't have to answer to you," and it's like, yeah, dude, like that. I mean, that's the reality. So, um, I don't know if this is what people imagined when they either voted for Trump or didn't really care if Trump won um, because of Gaza or whatever. Uh, but yeah, this is what's going on. You got jackboot thugs running the streets, detaining people, detaining, uh, claiming to get criminals, and they're getting dudes with like the orange vest going to work. And you got those same federal agents and National Guard in Washington, D.C. coming to a city near you, according to Trump.
Yeah. Um, I don't even know what to make of the dictatorial mess. I will say, other people are hearing the reverby noise that's happening, and I think it's on your end. Would you mind, like,
You hearing it from me?
yeah, like it just happens every like minute or so while you're speaking. It's not like while you're speaking, but every minute or so, like some noise happens.
Okay, maybe it's the fan. Let me see.
I'm
Because
maybe
I was hearing it on your end, but maybe it's me.
okay. It could definitely be me as well. I'm trying a newer setup, and I will quit and rejoin after Bam tries that, but we'll see. I don't want Bam to be sweating up the storm just because of some tech issue I have.
No, it should be fine. I mean, I usually have this fan on. It doesn't do anything. I don't know if maybe like the air conditioner is hitting the mic, but we'll see. Or maybe it's just like me making noise on the table.
I don't think it's that. It's like it sounds like a digital audio glitch noise, but it just keeps happening on like a random interval every like minute and a half or so. Yeah, it's very strange, but we can work it out. Now back to the important stuff, not technical support or the weather report. But yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, it just happened again. I might quit and rejoin in a moment from now, just to see if that resets it. But kind of just to set it off, like, do you have any sense of like, it's like, I don't know. I honestly suspected a lot of things that happened this summer. Like, I knew Donald Trump was going to like flex his military muscle. I was saying this even earlier in the year. Like, I think this summer is going to be very active. I think the summer is going to be very dangerous. It's proven to be so. It is not an understatement just to say from the few public reports that we have that this, like, ICE expedition over the past couple of months has led to people being killed in ICE custody or fleeing ICE custody, even as we had that one guy out in Central California who died fleeing ICE custody. And of course, that's just what we know about. I know people know about this, but I also know there's too much to keep up with. And then I know that people, are angry about this, but there's almost like too much to fight in a way. And I'm just wondering, like, when does this all kind of come to a head? Like, does the economy need to tick down a couple more points? Do prices need to go up on Black Friday instead of going down? Like, what is it? Like, that's the thing I'm kind of wondering about, and I'll be kind of listening for the answer as I quit and rejoin. But I am on two computers, so I can hear.
Okay. I think anything that happens will make Trump want to go harder. And they gave all that money to ICE. So, like, as more and more ICE hires happen, there's just going to be more detainings and deportations. As far as like the National Guard going or different National Guards going into different cities, like, I don't know, like that's a little bit more iffy. That one's kind of up in the air. I feel like he had kind of more reign to do that with DC. In LA, you're able to say like, oh, there's some emergency, whatever. They cook the books on the protests or whatever. But with ICE, I just feel like it's just going to be more and more. And the more ICE hires happen, like the more people that are like American citizens, like dead ass, are going to be getting detained. We've already seen it, but there's going to be more and more. Like there's going to be kids that end up getting detained with their parents and things like that. I think the only thing that can make it slow down, unfortunately, I think we're in for a year of this at least, is like the midterms. Like maybe if Republicans do very bad in the midterms, Trump maybe will see that as a reflection of his policies. But he's a lame duck president, hopefully, and he might just be like, well, whatever, I can do whatever I want. Like I don't think he cares about. I think Trump would like to see a Democrat get elected after him so he can go crazy on social media, or go crazier on social media. But yeah, it's truly unprecedented times. Like I have seen. Okay, so is it me? All right, I'm gonna what you call it? I'm gonna reset when Dan comes back because maybe it's me. Maybe this mic finally gave out. Okay, when Dan gets back, I'm out of here for good, for life. I'm just gonna wait for Dan though. But
I'm waiting. Me too. Hello.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, yeah, no,
Okay.
it's definitely you. I was hearing it on my other computer while you were talking. It might be like an audio cable thing or something like that. Yeah,
okay, I'll be right back.
Cool, thank you. Working with them technical difficulties, y'all. Also apology. I will have like a proper set next show, I promise. Yeah, still doing the moving, and that is still taking a time. But yeah, I think a lot of comfortable people are going to need to be uncomfortable in order for this moment to actually like hit for a lot of people. But I don't wish for that, and I don't want that. Some stories that we're going to cover today. Of course, we got the Gaza ceasefire proposal. Of course, we've got Trump and Ukraine. We've got Republican states that are sending the National Guard to DC. There might be some, casting changes at the FBI. If you know Donald Trump, you know how that tends to go. As we mentioned, the Texas Democrats, as we mentioned, and I will have to do a little bit of a warpath in honor of Sachi. He could not be on the show today, but he was killer on the show last week, y'all. Let's get some noise in the chat for Sachi because he was really good last week. Because and there you are, Sachi. Awesome. We're doing some stuff with technical difficulties, but yeah, knew you were here. Sachi has got some, personal matters to attend to. Nothing bad, all good. Bam, I still hear the noise, but
What?
it's actually worse now.
Maybe it's my mic. Let me just restart my computer.
Okay, yeah, but also before you do that, make sure you're using the right mic in your settings, like for StreamYard.
I'm pretty sure I am.
Like there should be an arrow next to your
what?
microphone button.
I'm not. Okay, is that
might
better?
Oh, you sound a lot better, so that might be it, honestly.
Okay, that's weird. You know how it is, like every once in a while just takes you off your preferred mic for no reason?
I figured it was something like that. Okay, it should be that now. Yeah. So, yeah, I was talking about Sachi had a great take about Gavin Newsom stuff. We may there's so much stuff to go with internationally, even more than usual. This isn't the Eswatini report this week. There's a lot going on. What's that? I don't have my globe anymore, unfortunately. And my new background that I just got shipped today, but I haven't been able to set up yet, does not have a globe, unfortunately. But yeah, so we're going to war with Venezuela now? I don't know. That seizes people. I should have brought him on to the show. Okay.
Venezuela round 2, actually, because I think a lot of people don't remember what Trump tried in Venezuela his first term. I don't remember what year it was, but and I don't and sadly I don't even remember all the details. Bad Lefty probably does, but there was like some they tried to like sneak in some some Colombian mercenaries into Cuba, and maybe there were some Americans too. I can't really remember, but there was like they tried it in Cuba, and there was like some concert on the border, and there was like supposed to be some aid that went through or something like that. I'm waiting for Bad Lefty because I know Bad Lefty knows this story better than me, and it didn't work. Whatever they tried to do. Oh, and actually, there was an assassination attempt on Maduro
Yes.
during Trump's first term with the drone. I remember that the drone exploded or whatever. And I want to say one of his bodyguards died, but I can't really remember for sure. But Trump definitely has a thing for Venezuela. He said that they're putting those 3 ships there to counter drug cartels. But I'm like, dog, what, the drugs ain't coming from Venezuela, dude. What are you talking about? Venezuela's sending their drugs to Africa, who's sending them to Europe, buddy. That's where that's going. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, okay. Actually, I maybe you heard about this, but when Trump was doing his little song and dance meeting with the European leaders with Zelensky, I think he asked Zelensky about the elections, and they said, there's a war, there can't be elections, and Trump's like, oh, so you're saying when there's a war, there can't be elections, huh? Assuming he's joking, but he's dumb enough to think that'll be the case. Who knows?
It's like in Arrested Development, the father protagonists actually think, no, you see, it's a trick because they can't send a married couple to jail. That's against the rules. And the son is like, what? Yeah, they can. And the guy's like, what do you mean they can? No, yeah, it's like this. We're skipping around so much because there's so many stories. We're just we're doing a hot tease with the stories right now because there's so much to go into here. But the key thing is that number one, in a rare case of I'm not going to give smoke to left media, I'm going to give smoke to mainstream media for a moment. Give up. Complete dereliction of your job. Because if you're not talking about Donald Trump's dementia the way you were talking about Joe Biden's decline in the last 2 years of his presidency, I'm not saying Joe Biden wasn't declining. I'm just saying just because the mainstream media like invites on all these experts and they can tell, okay, that person's got dementia because they keep forgetting their sentences, and they can't tell, oh, that other person has dementia because they're angry and they can't complete their sentences, and they keep going this, that, and the other way, and they keep not making any sense. That's exactly what's happening with Donald Trump right now. And when you're seeing like these sort of like these little clips where, again, I'm jumping around, but you saw when he was on a hot mic after talking with Putin, and he was like, yeah, you know, I think Putin really wants to give me a deal. It's like, you can't tell me the art of the, I mean, honestly, I would initially say you can't tell me that Mr. The Art of the Deal is getting played this hard. But ultimately, A, I believe it. And B, this is worse than we even know. Because to wrap this up really quickly, like we knew about dementia Don during the first term, right? But during the first term, there was a belief, even among Donald Trump, that he had guardrails. And there's definitely this belief among the people around him. Now, all the people around him who ever believed there were guardrails are gone. So the only people around him are people who are just like yes-anding, or people who on behalf of Donald Trump, like Stephen Miller, are like slamming their foot on the gas so hard, they're like, it's like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Their feet start like actually running the vehicle because they're like moving so fast, right? But like that's just something to be said, that like not only everything Trump is doing is dangerous, right? But like we can only be sure that even Trump himself knows 80% of what he's doing and probably less, just because of how crazy this all is and how much like weird sort of like, you know, twitchy behavior he's having.
Yeah, I mean, and just going back to Venezuela too, like I feel like Venezuela's kind of been in the American crosshairs for a while. Now, I will say this, I am a leftist. I am. You know, Viva Chavez and all that. Now, I'm looking at my boy Maduro over there, Big Nick, and I'm just like, look, dude, you can't put people in jail every election, dog. Like, you can't, like, every single time you can't have, like, this is your top opponent and they get arrested. You can't do that every time, dude.
Unless Geo Group and Core Civic get a cut, you know what I'm saying?
Like, I don't want to call you a dictator. Like, you know, like, I don't want to be like MSM Bam and say you're a dictator like that. I don't want to do it. But
MS Bam is actually the new name of the network.
But you can't do it every single time. Like, I remember Juan Guaido, you know, like the Juan Guaido thing, you know, didn't work. Okay, cool. But like every single time there's an election, there's like, this is Maduro's top opponent going into these elections. And then like they get arrested. And I'm just like, come on, man. This is how I genuinely feel. Like, America is like the worst of the worst, and they will like do the worst things to your country 100%. But you like these guys like Chavez, Maduro, like they're talking about like their ideology, like this was like a revolution, you know? So if you really believe that your thing was like a revolution, you gotta like put the ideas to the people at some point, you know, like let the people decide. In Bolivia right now, the left has lost their first election in like 20 years. And it's like now, sorry guys, I'm going way off a little bit, but like ain't no reason to talk about no landlocked country in South America. No, I'm joking. But Evo Morales was very popular, you know. I think Evo Morales' mistake was, and the same mistake Lula made in Brazil. You can't just have the cult of personality yourself. Like, you got to prop up different people because at some point you can't run anymore. And Evo Morales was trying to like change the constitution so he could run again. They said, no, you can't do that. And now the right, like the center right is going to win the presidency in Bolivia for the first time in like 20 years. Now, bad lefty, they should stop doing crimes and more. Don't want to frame them as stupid. But I don't think that whatever's happening in Venezuela obviously is enough for like Trump to say we need to invade or whatever. Also, I don't believe that America has like the actual real ability to invade Venezuela like that. Like, I don't think that America is going to be able to do that. Like, that's very difficult. It ain't like Iraq where you park your boat and you can just drive all the way to Baghdad because it's flat. Venezuela has mountains and trees and all kinds of shit. So,
now, I really think, like, especially in modern times, Americans saw what happened with Iraq and Afghanistan, and like, you know, they still can't point to it on a map. They still don't really know the geography, or like, you know, they would fail the like Tucker Carlson 101 questions that like he was asking Ted Cruz for sure. But like, there really is something to be said about how if you grew up in Bam's generation or mine or even younger, like, you think America's military is popping because you've seen America's military play the tutorial level.
Oh, right? And you've seen commercials.
And speaking of tutorial level, video games. Like, you know,
I was going to say that too. Literally video games.
Like, yeah, video games, commercials, whenever they do those like military flyovers at football games, the only time Americans actually get to feel what it's like when Reaper jets are flying low, but like right below them. And then like Americans just like, oh, we get to see some like hot cheerleaders after this. We don't have to worry about like, you know, our homes being bombed after hearing or seeing this, or honestly before hearing or seeing that, as other people do throughout the world. But no, yeah, like, we've said it before, we'll say it again, and we'll continue saying it. If America were to like engage in a boondoggle with Netanyahu in Iran, it would suck for America. Like, it would be another Vietnam.
Oh, I mean, like, just look at how Iraq was not like, I mean, a lot of people probably in this chat are young, but like, that was not a walk in the park. It was really bad. Iran is like 2 times the size of Iraq. Like, yeah,
and
like,
it's
how
not
do you
flat? It's not flat.
Exactly. Like, Tehran is in a whole valley. It's like surrounded by mountains. It snows there. But yeah, this Venezuela thing is interesting. It's something to keep your eye on because Trump has set his sights on Venezuela. You know, like, there's a lot of his base in Florida that are big Venezuela hawks, including a lot of the Venezuelans that are in Florida. And the Cubans and stuff, you know, they're really mad. Now, like, I ain't in Venezuela. I don't know what it's exactly like that. You know what I mean? Like, they talk about how there's no diapers and it's really poor. I know there's like sanctions and stuff, you know, free them from that. But I do remember actually when Russia and Saudi Arabia colluded to make the gas prices go high before the 2022 midterms, Biden did hop on that phone with Maduro like, hey, buddy, hey, remember me? Remember us? Hey, you want to...
Come on, Jack.
Hey.
Listen here, fat.
It didn't work, but yeah, Venezuela has a lot of sanctions and stuff. I hope that doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, I feel like it would be the worst thing for Trump to do politically. Like, Republicans, just like Democrats, don't want to see, like, the broader like base of Republicans don't want to see American troops going into Venezuela for a damn thing. Like, that is just not what we want to see. But
You want to know what name I haven't heard in a while? And I was literally like struggling during this entire segment to like Google it and remember it. Juan Guaido.
I literally just said that name.
No, I know you
said that 5 minutes ago.
I know you. I must have been like searching while we were doing it, so like my bad. But like, admittedly, I also didn't necessarily mean just like during this show, just to save myself, but also like during this entire thing. I'm like,
I think he lives in America now. I think he lives in Florida.
Like, I honestly thought Americans had, well, like American media honestly had like accepted for a minute that like, yeah, Juan Guaido is the rightful ruler of Venezuela, and this Maduro guy's just like gotta go. Meanwhile, right now, first of all, no one's really even talking about like sending 3 USS like destroyers or whatever over to Venezuela. But like A, no one's talking about it. B, Juan Guaido, whatever happened there? Whatever happened there?
No, seriously. Oh, and also I want to say this about Maduro as well. Even Lula has criticized Lula criticized those last elections in Venezuela, actually. So it's not me being mainstream BAM like that. Even Lula criticized those last elections in Venezuela. So it's not just me. That's y'all's guy.
Y'all's guy. Yeah, I don't. You know what? Been kind of talking. We've been shadowboxing this sort of like enemies during this segment of the show, or during this part of the show so far. Congratulations, you ran out 1 to 2 hours. Bam, good job. But, no, I'm kidding. I'm joking about the idea of ending the show at
6:45.
9:45. Is that like 8 p.m. for y'all? No. Just for that, we're going an extra hour. No. But we were talking about this like, sort of online conversation. Let's go to Greasy Gavin, shall we? Because like you're now the Power Report California correspondent. I have no context. I don't even know what California is, frankly. Couldn't point to it on a map. There's that saying about how like, people in LA always hate New York, or they always shit talk New York, and people in New York don't think about LA at all. It's like one of those things. It's actually the other way around. Like people in California don't think about New York at all. But nevertheless, sorry, I'm just trying to find the story here. So
is there some domestic violence going on back there? Because are the Haitians going wild out there? What's going on back there?
You can hear that much. I gotta turn this mic down. Then damn.
the Haitians is turned up at Prospect Park or some shit.
It's actually, this is not that bad. I don't live anywhere near them. But I just gotta like be mindful of the sound because I have my windows open, but like I can just like fix that later. But no, have you been paying attention to what's been going on with Gavin Newsom? Because I have been like I have 2 minds of it. One, I think it's very funny that Trump and his Freudian slip. I think it's very funny how Gavin Newsom is posting like Donald Trump, or his like press team is posting like Donald Trump, and they're doing all these things. They're posting like, oh, here's Chad Gavin Newsom with his like scarf, studying literature like a good Western man. And then here's JD Vance with his 3 chins posing while women use the urinal in front of him. Like, like there's that's a real photo that exists, right? Like there's this new thing going on where Gavin Newsom is posting like conservative, and like it reaches this weird issue where like this new sort of, maybe I'm using the term wrong, but like paleo conservatism is about a nationalism, this sort of like we like the chiseled chin white guy, and Gavin Newsom fits that very well to the point where Nick Fuentes is like telling his followers that if you don't like Gavin Newsom just because he's a Democrat, then you're cucked and you're gay, which is a lot coming from Nick Fuentes, but more on that another day. We'll just the rumors are strong with that one. Gavin Newsom has been retweeting right-wing neo-Nazi accounts because they've been supportive of him and his sort of assault. And so I'm saying all that to say is that there's one part of me that appreciates Gavin Newsom acting like Donald Trump, because when Fox News goes, now come on, is this becoming, where's your wife? Is this becoming of a politician to be posting these all cap screeds late at night? And like, there's not even a lick of irony that this is like, these are the people who have been defending Donald Trump doing the same thing for literally a decade. Then there's the other side of me that's like, the first thing you should know about Gavin Newsom is that he fucked his best friend's wife. Like, I'm gonna keep coming back to that. And this is like, he's greasy Gavin for a reason. He's someone who's not trustworthy. He's someone who will jump onto a political moment just for his attention, and that he does not have the best thoughts of the left in mind. That's who I see Gavin Newsom as, and that's why I see him exactly as doing right now. But he has thrust himself into the national spotlight because he's willing to do a little bit of A, a little bit of B, like trolling the conservatives into like making a fool out of themselves. But even though we know that that's not like a thing you can actually do, he is fighting fire with fire, which is something the Democrats aren't usually seen doing, like standing up to Republicans and actually getting down on their level. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel a lot of different ways about it. And I wish I had 10 more minutes to explain and monologue about how I did feel about it. But I'm going to ask how you were. No, I'm going to ask how you are holding these two weird situations together with Gavin Newsom.
Do your thing, dude. Because this, there is not a lot of like intellectualized voters in this country. There's a lot of fugazi, fake ass intellectual voters in this country, but I think a lot of those people even are cap. So Gavin Newsom's fighting the culture war kind of thing. Like you got to win like the culture. Like Donald Trump Donald Trump made himself the champion of like the working man, and he's never worked a day in his life. And he did that however he did it, mostly appealing to misogyny and racism. If Gavin Newsom can do that like some other way by like clowning Trump and making fun of him and showing how ridiculous he is, to what it seems like garner support for his 2028 presidential run, please do it, dude. If it's gonna work, do it. I don't really care about him that much like that. Like, I can appreciate, what he's doing with the redistricting thing. I just got something in the mail about that yesterday, actually. I can appreciate that because there is this everybody says that, like, oh, the Democrats don't fight. The Democrats don't fight. Is okay, he's fighting back, so that's good, I don't know how that's going to work out, but I can appreciate that. The stuff he's doing online, just go for it. Whatever is going to work against, either we're going to keep having Trump till he dies, after 2028, or like JD Vance and Ron DeSantis is running for the Republicans in 2028. I want anybody to beat them. So if that's Gavin Newsom and if what he's doing is going to work, go for it, buddy. I don't follow him. You know what I mean? So I'm going to see it on the news because I'm not about to follow Gavin Newsom online. But do your thing.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, we have this great story here. Like, there's kind of this thing where anything Gavin Newsom does, anything Donald Trump does, Gavin Newsom has done better. for example, like one of the horrendous things that is happening in DC right now is Donald Trump is sicking. They're not ICE agents necessarily, but they are federal agents who are using these same sort of like ICE kidnapping tactics that we've seen in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, a lot of different cities. Even there's smaller raids happening in less populous red states that aren't getting a lot of pretense right now. I got to talk to Christina soon because I know there's a lot of stuff happening in South Carolina and their governor supporting sending a lot of troops to DC. So there's a lot going on. But these same tactics that have been seen to break apart legal and undocumented families across the country are happening for the unhoused as well. And Gavin Newsom's been talking about. I'm not even going to break into the voice because my gravelly Gavin Valley Newsom voice is going to sound like RFK Jr. and I still have the time for it tonight. So I'm learning myself. But like, there's all these different complaints about what Donald Trump is doing and Gavin Newsom calling that like inhumane. And like, my brain's an encyclopedia like this, but Sachi brought it up for us to also like have a note that Gavin Newsom called on local officials. I don't know if y'all remember this because it was a little bit of a while ago, to be fair, but this was May 13th of this year. Right. Like, I know we got a young audience, but May 13th, 2025 is when Gavin Newsom was like, yeah, actually, we're going to allocate $1 billion, actually $3 billion of our California state budget towards criminalizing and over-policing the unhoused in our state because Greasy Gavin is running for president. And one of the things that was kind of floated around during the times of the wildfires was that, okay, Donald Trump may not give Gavin Newsom and the state of California, wildfire relief assistance because of the way California is being run. And that just has a wide range when it comes to crime that whenever Donald Trump turns on the Young Turks and watches Anarchist-Experian, he believes is happening a lot in Los Angeles and California, whether it's the unhoused or homelessness, or whether it's drugs or all these other things that, entertain Fox News boomers, just like our president. Gavin Newsom has said, oh no, absolutely. I'm against that shit too. Lest we forget, again, Freudian slip, but I keep wanting to call him Donald Trump Jr. But Gavin Newsom had Charlie Kirk on his new podcast to say, like, I'm pretty much aligned with you on trans issues, which is just like disqualifying to be called a progressive or liberal governor in 2025. Yeah, I'm of two minds of it. Like, and I think I said this really well to someone else recently. One of my friends who is trans, and he was like, he's like, I'm never going to give Gavin Newsom anything, especially after that Charlie Kirk interview. And the way I said it was, and I'll just note for Bam, I'm not beating the I'm a fan of Gavin Newsom allegations, but here goes. I'm saying I will not give Gavin Newsom credit. I will not bend over backwards to give Gavin Newsom credit. But kind of like what Bam just said in giving Gavin Newsom credit, no, I'm kidding. But no, what Bam just said, just to prove that I'm listening, is that there's a hunger for Democrats to be fighting, and to see someone like Gavin Newsom doing what he's doing. I'll say it like this. If any Democrat was doing what Gavin Newsom was doing with his position of power, I would be supportive of that, of the gerrymandering stuff, of the tough talk, of the like weaponizing their language against them. I'd be with it, honestly. But I can separate the tactic, which I agree with, which comes from an absolute desert of Democrats standing up from doing anything, compared to Gavin Newsom, who may be doing the right thing in one particular moment, but every time he does the right thing, I can show you 3 times where he did the wrong thing. Anytime he stands up for climate, I can show you 3 times he was standing up for like frackers and oil and natural gas in California. So like it's
that's a politician. That's a politician. Like every politician has shit that you're gonna like. That's why I'm not a fan of these people. Like, they're just a tool for something. But like, I'm not looking at somebody like Gavin Newsom to be the savior of saviors. But he's doing a job, and you know. So I think somebody just said they wouldn't support him in the primaries. Yeah, I don't know who's going to be in the primaries. You know what I mean? If it's him and I don't know who's going to be there. If it's like him and Dan, I got to vote for Gavin. Sorry, y'all don't know Dan like me, but yeah,
I'm Dan and I approve Bam's message.
But it's like I don't look at these politicians like they're good for real. It's just like, I think we have a unique moment, and it's really unfortunate that there's so much uncertainty around 2028. I do not forget that Beto said that Donald Trump is trying to rig the 2026 midterms so he can run again in 2028. That's what Beto said. But he said it in English too. So
Beto.
But if Donald Trump is not running in 2028, I would imagine as JD Vance and Ron DeSantis are like the big wigs for the Republicans. We already see what they're about based on what's happening right now, and we got to do something against that. Is Gavin Newsom perfect or even close to that? Absolutely not. But he's better than that. Now, I'm going to go back to what I was saying about the Fugazi intellectual voter who told me that, Biden or Kamala dropped the ball, didn't get elected because of Gaza. That's what I was told. But I have not seen those same people have any energy for Donald Trump when it comes to Gaza. So for me, that's Fugazi. And I don't even think that Gavin Newsom necessarily needs to appeal to that person. I mean, I would be mad if I was running for office and some like purity test leftist was saying Gaza. I'd be like, well, let me look at your Instagram to see if you ever mentioned what's happening with Trump in Gaza. And if you didn't, which you probably did not, then I don't want to hear it because you just had smoke for a moment. Actually,
we got Gavin Newsom booster Bam over here. That's amazing. No. I feel you.
That's fair. That's fair because I did it to you for years, so I'll accept it.
Nothing but love and fairness on this show. The most fair show on the left. No, but like you're 100% right, and I will actually raise you, Bam, and do a yes and. Gavin Newsom, at this point, like just at this point out, which is almost certainly an incorrect prediction because like at this point out, it's just like way too far from the 2028 election. But Gavin Newsom could literally duck behind a podium and start playing music every time someone brings up Gaza, and he could still win the presidency. But, like, I mean to say that as a Democrat, Gavin Newsom can get away with avoiding the issue almost entirely because guess what? That's what he's done so far. No one's ever gone, hey, Gavin, what's your opinion on the Israel-Palestine conflict? And, in a very Zoran Mamdani way, my first response, and I think a good response should be like, I'm the governor of California. Why the fuck is that my problem? That's a fair response. Although I will say, Palantir, Elon Musk's orbit of companies, Mark Zuckerberg's orbit of companies, Jeff Bezos' orbit of companies, Sundar Pichai's orbit of companies, all of these big tech companies, I'm just mentioning Google, Apple, SpaceX, Amazon, etc. They're all in California. I mean, a lot of these other companies have offices, Bezos in Washington, SpaceX and Tesla a lot, but a lot of their main offices, a lot of where their big brain people are, the design people, the tech people, the coding people, they're in California because they're too smart and too valuable to be dragged out to Texas. And so you're gonna keep these offices in California. So yeah, like I think there's like a little bit of a miscalculation, and I don't want it to be this way, honestly, but I think there's a little bit of a miscalculation for a lot of people on the online left. I mean, the online left specifically, thinking that Gaza is going to be a new litmus test for Democratic presidential candidates. No. I hate to break it to you, but despite every horrible thing you've seen since October 7th, 2023 on your phones, and every horrible thing you'll continue to see as this like starvation campaign this irreversible starvation campaign continues, an entire Democratic primary can happen, and one of the worst candidates on that issue, or a candidate who doesn't speak on it at all that much, is still not just can win, but is most likely to win. And so, yeah, I think Gavin Newsom has a lot of free range in that point to say, like, to ignore people online who are like, oh, what's Gavin Newsom's stance on Gaza? Like, he can just say nothing and then become president and either turn into, the special rapporteur from the UN, or he could turn into Netanyahu's bosom buddy. Like, he can go really either direction with Gavin, and he can still win, like, regardless of that. I'm not saying that because I'm saying that less because of like Gavin Newsom's political skill or the skill of anyone working in the Democratic Party right now. I say that more as a factor of the American electorate and the way this works. Like the way this is actually kind of coming out to being. And that we started the show kind of worrying about, oh, when is this going to wake people up? Like, we've reached past the point of like, if Gaza was going to wake up Americans, it has woken up Americans to the extent that it possibly can. Like, now you've got the New York Times columnists, like now you've got people on Fox, like this is beyond the wildest dreams of pro-Palestine activists from even as recently as like 2019, right? What's been happening worldwide about the opinion of Gaza. It still is not a sea change thing. And Gavin Newsom can still be a piece of shit, and he can still work his way through all of this. I will say before you jump in, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but just to give an example of like the kind of shit that we're seeing, this is Gavin's team typing in like all caps and all text, like Fox News can't stop talking about me, parentheses, Gavin C. Newsom, America's favorite governor. Basically just talking about all the Fox News hits that he's gotten with people complaining about that. And people complaining about the way he's tweeting, even though all the people complaining about the way he's tweeting have just accepted Donald Trump at face value. So again, like, I think it's masterful trolling. I think it's funny how you have like groypers who are going, hey, you know what? Gavin Newsom is out alphaing Donald Trump. And I'm like, you know what? Let them fight. Let them splinter off or whatever. Like, I don't really care. But I don't want, like, this is not a repeatable thing. And that you can be not a dick. Like, Gavin Newsom is throwing people under the bus as he's doing this. You can be not this person and you can still do well within the Democratic Party. Again, like, I think Tim... my last point, and this is honestly one of my like bars from coming out of this like whole thing. Tim Walz does need to type in all caps, and he can do much better than even what Gavin Newsom's doing right now. Like if Gavin Newsom had the seats, like Tim Walz would he'd be able to just drop like weird as like he'd be able to do like weird also ratio in response to everything JD Vance says. And he would be winning like Reagan-style landslides when it came to the polls.
Yeah, I mean, I as far as like whatever his tactic or his team's tactic, it's just a moment. I feel like, and it's just whatever. Like, it's ultimately it's like, okay, you guys are doing the redistricting thing, and you like stood up in that moment, and that's a good thing. And at the end of the day, we'll see what happens from that. And yeah, like I think that he's vying to, from what it seems, I don't think he said anything necessarily, but it looks like he wants to be running for president in 2028. And you gotta go viral, dude. Like that's literally what it's about. Like you're not, like I said, like you're not like trying to get some freaking like intellectual, read all the policies voter here. Like you need to be viral, basically. And if that's what he does and it works for him, whatever, good for you, buddy. As far as it goes with Palestine and I think the situation in Palestine is so different now. Like, even Trump can say like, yeah, it's bad in Gaza. Like it's the situation is different now. I'm hoping by the time 2028 comes around, it's a different situation and better. But it's I feel like for the most part, everybody is gonna have a similar stance on Israel, like because I came across some real. I can't remember if we ever talked about it on here. I would assume we did, but I came across some reel and there was a Free Palestiner yelling at Mamdani because he says that Israel has the right to exist, and he was going off. And I'm looking at the comments, and it's like all these people saying that he's a piece of shit for saying that Israel has the right to exist.
But saying Mamdani is a piece. Oh my god.
Oh no, they were going off. Like they were like in like the person came and yelled at him in person because he says Israel has the right to exist. And in the comments, it was like hella Free Palestiners, leftists, whatever you want to call them.
Bam. I don't know if you remember because you keep doing PowerPoint drunk, but like the last like when Bernie was doing like all those Stop Oligarchy rallies in the first couple like weeks and months during the Trump administration, lest we forget, he was also being hit for saying that same thing. Like, how dare you, Bernie Sanders, the senator who is the most pro-Palestine? Like, I'm sure you can debate who is the most pro-Palestine senator. But when it comes to actions, when it comes to like motions you put on the floor, when it comes to votes, I'm sorry, this is America. And if you don't like the fact that Bernie Sanders is the best you've got, then stop yelling at Bernie Sanders. Elect the next Bernie Sanders. I got news for you, right? Like, Bernie Sanders, I don't know if you know this, he's old. All right? Like, that independent seat in Vermont is wide open. And, most likely it's going to go to someone who's, like, been a staffer with Bernie or who has worked with Bernie, or at the very least is following in Bernie's footsteps of being, like, left of center, but also left of center left as someone who's like a representative. Like, go ahead, sure. But if you're going to, I will even concede, of course, like Bernie Sanders has not been the best rhetorically on these things, but like, I don't care if he says that Benjamin Netanyahu wakes up every morning, sticks a thumb up his ass and calls himself Sally, right? Like, it doesn't matter, but what does matter is when Bernie Sanders puts forward votes that are like, we're going to stop arms sales to Israel. No, it's not going to work in America, but you're getting senators on record, or you're at least showing, okay, at this point in time, 2.5 years into this genocide, you can get about 35 U.S. senators on board to stop sending arms to Israel. Like, and that can be like at least a talking point moving there. If you're one of these like people and you're not in your same breath of criticizing Bernie Sanders, saying, and you're not in that same like breath or with that same energy, donating to Rashida Tlaib's congressional campaign, being in her DMs saying like, hey, you should run for Senate. It's your time because we need to like change some things moral wise. You shut the fuck up. What's that 2 Chainz line? Shut the fuck up. No. And it's the same with Zoran. Like, I almost don't even want to flex his family and African American like studies and all the other different stuff. And like obviously him being Muslim, and obviously that knows that you being a Muslim does not necessarily make you a Free Palestiner, unless you are is that Bam's History of Islam Part 2 that's written in notes and ready for members? to be
Oh, yeah.
recorded probably in a month or so. Let's just throw that out there. Listen, in the immortal words of Minister Kanye West, may not come when you want, but I'm on time. Okay. So check that out. But anyways,
I'm ready. I'm ready when you are.
I'm not ready. So and you're not ready either. So please continue. Thank you for your membership support, and we'll continue talking about that later. But no, I'm saying like there's so many thoughts I have about that. Like you sent me on a tangent, obviously, but like to call out Zoran for certain language or certain rhetoric, or to be like, if you say Israel has a right to exist, that is disqualifying. Like, I don't
Literally.
I listen, I don't believe any nation has a right to exist. Like
You said China. You said China last time.
I literally was about to say, like, PowerPoint old heads remember that, like, you know, I'm not allowed to travel to the People's Republic anymore because of some statements that I made on the last episode. But like, you know, I that said, if you are a politician, you are running offline. I just realized the date is wrong on the stream, but I can fix that. But like, you are running offline. Like,
let me just say, I 100% agree. And also, I'm just like, why are you saying? I mean, I'm not going to go into this because we already did this conversation a few weeks ago. But why are you saying that Israel doesn't have a right to exist? Like, say America doesn't have a right to exist first. Like, that's like shut this shit down, because America is worse than Israel. It already did it, and has not only did it here in this land, but also did it around the world. So, but either way, and obviously not even to get into all that whole thing with Zoran, but the situation in Gaza is different now, and it'll be different in 2028 or 2027, whatever. And yeah, we'll see if it still has the same, like if it's as radioactive or whatever as it was in this past election. Unfortunately, I feel like it was only like I really feel like that time is come and gone, because we just don't see the same energy anymore. But maybe, and I will put my tinfoil hat on here and say I do think a lot of that was fueled by bots. Now, can the bots do it again? We'll see. But that's just my theory.
yeah, no, I see that too. And before we go we've tangented extreme right now. But before we go too far off of Gavin Newsom, I did want to shout out. I'm not exactly sure who this guy is, but he goes by Lefty Baseball on Twitter, and he got
That's me.
pretty good numbers, quoting Gavin Newsom's office, by doing all this like big all caps tweeting saying, he stopped doing all caps like a week ago, by the way. Like
referring to Trump, right?
Yes. So it's like, you know, congratulations, Team Newsom, for figuring out this strategy of like trying to out Trump, which a lot of Democrats have done, to be fair, in the past, and it's fallen kind of flat. I think Newsom doing it right now, and Newsom with his stature, it's getting more attention right now for those reasons. But I think it's also going to be like, oh, well, 6 months from now, we'll be like, hey, bam, remember that one time in like August where like Newsom was tweeting like Trump and like that was a thing? Yeah, that was a cool little gimmick. It almost reminds me of like that one time in spring where Cory Booker did that like long filibuster about nothing. Like it's gonna be, there's a lot of, and if I can channel my inner Sachi here, this is secretly his account, so that's why I'm shouting him out and I'm proud of him for nailing this tweet really well. But I think that the Democratic Party is still stuck in this frame of performance, and I think performance is fine, but it's like what you do with it, right? So like Newsom saying, hey, guess what, Californians on the ballot are now going to be voting on this new like redistricting thing, That is like rubber meet the road, like foot to pavement, like that's some like real shit right there.
Right.
Tweeting, all caps,
Yeah.
like I don't care.
But yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I don't care, you don't care, but I feel like in the grand scheme, like that's kind of what that's what politics is now. Like, you got to go viral, you got to do shit like that so you get attention. Like, it is an attention competition at the end of the day. You know, I feel like Trump got a lot of attention going on Joe Rogan and Andrew Schultz and what's the homeboy's name in Florida? I forgot a little bit. What?
I know who you're talking about. Theo Vaughn
And what's the little young dude?
Aiden Ross.
Aiden Ross. Like, he got a lot of attention doing that and it appealed to a certain demographic. Obviously, this is early, whatever, but I'm not mad at Gavin Newsom doing that. I'm just like, okay, yeah, all right, do what you got to do. But I am happy that he is stepping up in a moment politically against what Texas is doing, regardless of how it turns out. It's like that's good. You're doing your job.
I agree. Fight harder is what I've been telling Democrats in person and on this show this entire second Trump term. And like, yeah, the Gavin move and the move, I'm like, I want other states. I want Minnesota. I want Michigan. It's going to be harder for some of those like Midwestern blue states for sure. But I think Minnesota can do it. Minnesota's been blue forever. Minnesota, when Reagan won that like landslide, Minnesota was the one state to go blue. Now that's because they had a home court advantage there, but still. They're about to like Omar out of Minneapolis has got the right wing so mad that like with Zoran Mamdani, because it's New York and there's so many people paying attention, they're rushing into the racism, but they're still kind of going slow into it. Like, you know, oh, he's in Uganda. Oh, he eats with his hands. Like, oh, his wife has to wear a headdress. Like, you know, like they're kind of like easing into it a little bit.
Wait, Zoran is married?
He's engaged, yes.
Does his wife wear hijab?
No.
I was going to be shocked. Like, what the hell?
I don't know.
I was like, wait, what? Like, he's doing rap videos and his wife wears hijab? Like, stop it.
I mean, what says American Muslim more than I'm gonna get myself?
No, you know what? Dan, that is a whole fact right there. Actually, yeah.
And again, I don't have as much like Muslim street cred to be able to say that. I am just speaking.
You got it right.
I'm speaking from my street cred of American Christians.
No, you were right.
Who be wearing cross like diamond ice, and they got like the cross tattoos and like the Bible verses tattooed. I'm like, you're already like not entering the kingdom of heaven.
Then they give their cousin head.
Yo. I'm gonna read some comments after that one. Sheesh. gotta get some ginger and wasabi after that. I gotta cleanse the palate. RMT Watcher says Newsom totally misread the room. I don't even think this new trolling is him, but one of his staff. I support that. Think he should keep going, but I still won't support him in primaries. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Like,
but who else is running though?
I think it's this is 2026, brother.
Right.
This is 2025, brother. I mean, like, we're gonna figure out who's gonna be running in some due time.
Do you think Tim Walz is actually gonna run though?
Without answering any of these questions, because we got to do the PowerPoint tradition of me not answering any of Bam's questions when it comes to presidential nominees.
Hypothetical.
This is summer 2025. A lot of people are going to come. A lot of people are going to go. And what I was going to say, regardless, is that Gavin Newsom is not my first or second or fifth choice in the Democratic
Damn.
Guess what? If Gavin Newsom comes on the ticket in 2028 and we have the ability to vote, sorry, leftists. Like,
okay, but
listen,
is there five people?
Gavin Newsom, Tim Walz, Beto O'Rourke.
Never mind. You said Beto. Yeah, he got no shot.
Yeah. There could still be some like dark horse leftist candidate that we're not thinking about. Like, let's call that AOC. I don't think she's gonna run, but like, let's just throw that out there.
Okay.
And yeah, like you have a class of AOC type candidates who are like, from the left side of the aisle. They're probably not going to win, but they can build the groundwork for a political campaign or even like a third party by running as a presidential campaign. And then you have the lane of like Amy Klobuchar's or Gretchen Whitmer's who are just like, it's their term. They're from the Midwest. They're women. They want to try to get that stuff too.
Can I just say this actually? Beto still has more Instagram followers than Gavin Newsom. Still. Beto's at 1.1, Gavin's at 1. Damn. Beto's still out here, dog. He's going platinum in Texas, yo. Slim thugging it.
Well, at least I'm just glad that Instagram doesn't have bots. That's my favorite. Ibrahim Muhammad in chat. Good to see you. Yeah, thank you, Bad Lefty, for getting what I was throwing down. Francesca Albanese with the special rapporteur of the UN. I was forgetting her name.
Lefty is I saw that. I was like, this fool's AI.
Yeah.
Does Bad Lefty remember Boutros Ghali?
Jesus Christ. RMT Watcher again, like, right, if it's between Newsom and literal Satan, I'm supporting Newsom, but I want somebody else the primary. 100% agreed. Yeah. And like, again, Bam's question is who else is it going to be? And my answer is that's the beauty of the show. We're going to see. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but we will see. Do we want to go into also Felipe has been and continues to shout out Sachi's Instagram, Hover Photography. I'm not sure if he's sharing that out like that because I swear Sachi gets new social media accounts every 2 months. But either way, talented member of the team, so definitely check his stuff out too. Let me see. What else was I reading here? There was something really good here. Philippe says jank for governor. Oh God, man, no. There it is. Gavin is as transactional as Trump. He's just less evil. I trust Gavin to serve what he imagines his interests are, and I will not support him until we can align his interests with us. Yeah, no. RMT, I'm putting you in the position of like, I don't know if I should keep reading your comments because I just agree with them completely 100%. Like, there's like, I'm fully with you there. Like, Gavin is a last resort. Like, Gavin Newsom is not as bad as, I'm already playing this game of defending Gavin Newsom, and I just want to continue and move on. So I'll do this very quickly. Is Gavin Newsom Eric Adams bad?
No.
As far as we know at this point, no. I don't think Gavin Newsom is above making some sort of shitty deal with Tom Homan the same way Eric Adams did. I also think that unlike Eric Adams, who folded like a foldable chair you bring out to the park or the beach, like I think Gavin Newsom would put up a little bit more of a fight. But I also think he could be convinced to give Republicans some type of sweetheart deal like that. That's just the kind of cloth he's cut from as a Democrat, right? Is Gavin Newsom as bad as Andrew Cuomo? No. All of Gavin Newsom's adultery has been done in public and as far as we can tell with consenting adults. So, like that's just like, no, like fundamentally Gavin's better than Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo. But damn, that's not praise. And
you're right. Is he better than Dan? Is Andrew Cuomo better? No, I'm joking.
Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that I'd be a way better politician, but we're just like on paper, it's not going to work. Like they're going to be like, "What's on YouTube? You called Anna Kasparian what?" Yeah, no. Bam has wanted me to run for office for so long that I've made
not anymore.
I've made PowerPoint a continuous project to make sure that never happens. So
and audio face.
There's other considerations with audio face, but
no, I think
the way Bam's go ahead.
Good.
Now, I was gonna say the way that Bam said "not anymore" with his chest, I'm like, ooh, okay, wow.
No, yeah. I think it was like whenever XXX Tentacious died, and then y'all's audio face, I was like, damn. We were over there on We Made It trying to be like we would say wild stuff sometimes, but it was like not that crazy. And I can't even remember it now, but I just remember listening. I was like, geez. And it was some other stuff. No, I think it was that. I think it was that.
No. There was a lot of Delray Radiohead stuff for sure, but like I will not.
I think there were some F slurs.
Audio Face is wilding back then, and I think it's a show about Audio Face is a show about morals, as we've always talked about, and it's about the learning of those morals. And yeah, no, we did the XXX Tentacion episode because he still remains one of like the top streamed artists, even though he's like long dead, and we would just repost the same episode every year on the date that he died. That was just like XXX Tentacion's a piece of shit or something, and it's a good thing that he died. That was either the title or the crux of the podcast or both. And we got a lot. Like, let me tell you, that remains the most listened to Audio Face episode, and it's like not even close.
That's great.
And we're not even talking about music. We just spending 20 minutes reading court cases.
Well, that's worth it because he was wild.
It's like, yeah, what do you do on your music podcast? A lot of trial law, honestly. But yeah, that can be actually that's just it. That's in the Disney vault for a reason. So you got to become a Syndicate 23 member to see some of those older, hear some of those older episodes. Felipe said, not as bad as Bam defending Drake every chance he gets. Let's hold that until the album drops this fall because yeah, that's real. Also, that's real, Lefty. But I wanted to get into it's the hour and a half point, so I wanted to finally talk about Gaza. Enough viewers sufficiently fallen asleep, so that's good. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know. We do this late. But it's day 685. The considerations around the West Bank have. Oh no. I'm not sure if you can hear behind me. I'm sure you can. But like, you like the NYPD spec sirens? It's a little deeper. It's like, anyways. It's never been more clear that Netanyahu is going after the Gaza Strip. Sorry, not the Gaza Strip, the West Bank. Now, I mean, obviously that too, but like the West Bank especially. The new approvals of settlements in the E1 sort of corridor create a separation, a physical barrier separation between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank that has been less and less together for a while now, but is really seeing something messy with this. I'll stop here because I know you got a lot of thoughts and your thoughts can be more informed, but I will just say something that I haven't been able to express because it's kind of like a little bit of a higher level thought, but I'm not sure if it's irony or disappointment or sadness or like, what I'm feeling, some combination of all that. But when you finally get centrist Western liberals to be on the side of, fuck, okay, you got me. Palestinians are people. I agree with you now. I get it. After, like, the New York Times columnists are finally starting to say that, and they're finally starting to utter the phrase, maybe we should have a two-state solution, which was the cop-out phrase to all of this 20 years ago that was seen anti-Semitic from the time it was first uttered until maybe a week and a half ago. And I'm probably still wrong at some point. But of course, at a time when you're starting to see people bring up like, I think a two-state solution does make sense. I think Palestinians having self-determination does make sense. Dare I say it? I think a Palestinian state has a right to exist. you're starting to see some liberals start to say that. But of course, the irony again, it's like irony feels too frivolous of a word. But for this awakening to be happening at the same week where all of the ties that would allow for an independent Palestinian state, like that Rubicon has been crossed, frankly, years, maybe decades ago, but definitely right now with like this E1 corridor settlement thing. We're like, okay, you believe in a two-state solution. You're 20 years late, but welcome aboard. Okay, next question, where? Because the Gaza Strip has been, stripped for parts, and like not even that. They're gonna literally to think that archaeologists 1,000 years from now might, if they're lucky, discover fossils from the genocide that's happening right now is just like a morbid thing I honestly think about sometimes. But what state could possibly exist? Like, it feels fucking rich, and this is like my ultimate point, for people to come around to a two-state solution conveniently at a time when they've allowed Israel to make that idea completely impossible. And that's the kind of thing that makes me angry about liberals who are just waking up to this being a problem, as though they who said nothing or even throwing around the anti-Semitism card as recently as October 8th.
Well, we got the liberals. Hopefully, we get some Republicans at some point. Because
we have the good news. We have Republicans. Bad news. It's not for the reason you want.
Right. So we don't have them. This settlement that Netanyahu and them approved. I'll say this. If there ever is a point where there is a not as aggressively genocidal government in power in Israel.
The word "if" in that sentence you just said is like buckling under the weight of what it's holding.
Right. And there have been in the past, but we'll see what happens in the future. But there have been settlements that have been taken down in the past because of political reasons. There were settlements in Gaza previously, and all those people left those settlements. So that this settlement that's being approved could be potentially deconstructed, or those people could move out in the future if there is going to be an independent Palestinian state. But it's just not going to happen under Netanyahu. And unfortunately, we have a president who still won't say that he believes in a two-state solution. I think when they asked him about it, he just deferred to Netanyahu, who was against a two-state solution and is against the Palestinian Authority government in Gaza. So what's happened recently is I think Netanyahu has learned something from Trump, actually, is just say some shit and people will talk about it and act like it's true in some way, because they just approved the plan and they started to invade Gaza City. A few days ago, or a little bit ago, they told the civilians to leave. And they started invading Gaza City. While at the same time, he said he said just yesterday or today that he's gonna approve the plan, or he's down for the ceasefire thing that Hamas agreed to, with the Egyptians or whatever. And it's what are you talking about? You are invading Gaza City while you're saying that we approve of the ceasefire. So that's the exact same thing Trump does when it comes to these geopolitical negotiations. It's I would be really upset if there's no ceasefire with Ukraine, and then it's a few hours later, it's we don't really need a ceasefire, actually. Netanyahu is prolonging this genocide in Gaza, while at the same time there's massive protests in Israel I want to say that there were over 100,000 people that were out the other day calling for. I think that mostly they're calling for the return of the hostages, but they are also they are also calling for an end to the war because of the hostages. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, I don't know how much they care about them people in Gaza like that. Like, I don't know, but they are saying that the war needs to end, and there's so many people in the military, former military officials, that are just like, this thing is over, dude. Like, what are y'all even doing anymore? There's reservists, there's IDF reservists who are actively not going to their they're not going to be deployed. They're going to refuse their deployment. It's really crazy that there's IDF soldiers that have already done, like, I don't even want to call them tours. It's just like down the street, but like tours in Gaza. They've done like 3 already, and it's like, goddamn.
I was just gonna say really fast, like the way that Americans may have some like experience of hearing people who have done like 2, 3, 4 multiple tours of duty in the, again, I hate to say tours, but like in the Iraq and Afghanistan war, and after tour, frankly, 1, but like 2, 3, 4, you have people who are like, I'm not even like, you can't even pay me anymore. There's no check that's worth me going back there. You're talking about like, now I'm gonna leave alone my own experiences with IDF reservists who are off of their quote unquote tour of duty from the genocide in Gaza, because I've unfortunately met a couple, and you're not gonna like what I have to say. But
well, I've met many in the past.
Some of them are even your friends, but what you're getting right, Bam, I got you good there. But what you're really seeing right now is that same sort of fatigue from the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, where you're like, okay, you're sending these same people, like the refuseniks, the people who are refusing to like, serve in the military, like they're gaining, not a lot of traction, but more traction. But that is to say, like, you're not getting people who are coming to serve, right? I said it was going to be really quick, and it's turned into a not really quick thing, but I will land on this that every time, super. But the ability for, like, Netanyahu announced, yeah, we've got some reservists who are coming down. Like, those reservists don't want to go. They've been enjoying their vacations in Argentina and Los Angeles and South America. Like, they're on, darling, hold my hand. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Like they are gone, dude. Like, they're even. This is as far as I'll go. Even IDF soldiers, even IOF soldiers are starting to get sick of the slaughter and the killing. They're like, I want my vacation. I want my check. I want my American white girl. I want my like social security number and my passport to live in Pennsylvania, right? Like, that's what I want. Stop dragging me down with the rest of the shit. And that's like, to your point, Bam, I think it's a really good point that Netanyahu has read the part of the art of the deal where you just say, like, it's just say you're doing something and do the opposite thing. It'll just give them something to talk about. It gives you more time. It just buys you more time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of Israelis leaving Israel, and a lot of them are going to Cyprus apparently and Australia. And they're gone for good. There's a lot of Israelis saying, like, I'm done living in Israel. Like, I'm out of here.
And you know what? Like, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, because I don't wish for like any like human being to be overall unsafe. But good. Like,
well, yeah.
Israel is not being run and hasn't been for a long time in the kind of way that is conducive for the safety of Jewish people. Like, that has been a lie for an extremely long time. Like, every time you launch a bomb into a church or a hospital or a school, you're not killing terrorists, you're creating terrorists. Because everyone who survived that is gonna feel some type of way about your government. And you start to blend that government with religion, it just gets worse. So I think the best thing to do for Israelis who are like out there is to move to a more cosmopolitan country, frankly.
Yeah, no, and that's you know, it's a fairly new phenomenon. I mean, you know, Israeli people be leaving sometimes, but you know, I feel like usually you have more people going there. But you know, sometimes people leave, but they are leaving right now, and because I think people are just frustrated with the situation. Like, what is there? There is no more quote unquote war to fight, and like I think a lot of the Israeli citizens are just like, can we just get back to normal? Like, you know, obviously it is an apartheid state, so they don't see what's going on. But like, you know, it has a mandatory military service. So when Netanyahu was talking about we got to activate 60,000 reservists, you know, there's a lot of people, like you were saying, there's a lot of people that were like just on vacation in Argentina in the winter and you know, here in LA and New York or whatever. They're like, wait, what? Like, I gotta do what? Like, I gotta go, and it's not like and it's not like there's no Israeli soldiers dying. Like, so Hamas is good with them IEDs. You know, you might get sniped or some shit. You know,
yeah, like there's no like, there's all this like Hollywood, this idea that like Palestinians are just creating these like well-produced Hollywood videos with the electricity and the cameras and the internet that they absolutely don't have. But like, there's that sort of like thing that's been going around. No, that doesn't exist. No, Palestinians aren't like, you know, like faking their own deaths. You want to see some propaganda though from the Palestinians? Check out them Quds forces. They be posting videos of all the shit they be doing. They be like, this is a troop of 4 IOF soldiers. This was a troop of 4 IOF soldiers before we drone struck the shit out of them, like Yahya Sinwar. Like that, they be going in, and there's a lot of people who be like, you know, coming back. It's war, right? So like PTSD at best, you know, lost limbs at worst. I'm not going to try to create like, you know, let's play the world's smallest violin for the IOF, right? But you know, these are the realities of. You're not just going to be able to just like call people back to war when you don't have people to like, you know, fresh, for lack of a better term, you don't have fresh meat to go out on the battlefield. No, this is pre-chewed meat here. These are people who have already done their tours, have already done their service. And, you know, Israel's not that big and populous of a state. You're going to start to be pulling off like, your drone operators, your chefs, your cooks, like you're gonna start to be pulling like random people off the street to be able to fill those reserves, and like you're not gonna be able to do it. And it's not like Israel is starting to, you know, make peace with any of the countries that are around it in a way that would make it so they don't require as much of like a standing, you know, military reserve.
Well, none of them Arab countries gonna do shit to Israel, but we are like. I think that what you will see is more of this conflict between the Orthodox Jews in Israel. I think I might have said it on here. If I did, it might have been like more than a month ago. But you know, there like the Orthodox don't have to serve in the military. You know, certain Orthodox Jews in Israel don't have to serve in the military. But recently, the Supreme Court, their Supreme Court. You know, I don't think it's done yet or whatever, but they were saying like, no, like we're not going to allow them to escape military service because they're studying Torah or whatever. And so I think it was like DW or whatever. They interviewed some Orthodox Jews after that ruling. And one of the guys they interviewed, he was like a young guy, like maybe like in his late 20s, mid 20s. And they asked him, you know, how do you feel about this ruling from the Supreme Court? He was like, you know, he basically said it's bullshit. And he's like, you know, and we're not going to serve either way. And he said, and death to Israel. Actually, you know what? This actually came up recently too. There's been a few Israeli citizens that have been caught because they were like uh basically like spies and doing like internal sabotage for Iran. Um, there's like a couple that's on trial right now. Because
Not the reverse Mossad.
Oh no. Like this is like for real.
No.
They were
I mean, it's Mossad.
like they were getting paid to like do different acts of sabotage. And you know, I think they like set some shit on fire. They did some like kind of like minuscule acts. But then the last thing they were supposed to do was like assassinate some military person or something like that. And they ended up getting caught before they could do it. But yeah, apparently there's like a few people that's like in a situation they were doing stuff for Iran. There are a lot of Persian descent Israelis. One of their recent former ministers of defense was Persian, actually. So it's not too surprising that some Iranian could infiltrate into the population there and get some shit cracking.
That's actually really fascinating because there's so much to be said about how like, Mossad is deeply infiltrated in the Iranian government and they know where the Ayatollah is. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, Mossad is highly infiltrated within the American government. And that's even before Trump won. That was way before Trump won. Yeah. I mean, if we want to get really real, that was way before Bill Clinton, buddy. So like,
it's way before.
Yeah. Like we're talking about Bill Clinton and Epstein. I'm like, oh, summer child. Oh, sweet summer child. We can Bam's History of Islam Part 3. But and also just like any, especially in New York, like any Muslim American who can speak about like the increased surveillance that was happening, like damn near every mosque in the United States, no matter how city small or big, had an FBI.
I was around for it. I was right there.
Bam was one of those FBI agents who was actually there. That's why I know so much.
I got stories.
We got to remember to save some of those for the for the segments.
My San Diego mosque wasn't a Netflix documentary.
I want to get on flights, so I'm not going to make any more jokes. But I will say, just as like, a little food for thought, Americans should not be surprised that this also exists in America too. Like there are spies who are like, Americans who are against America, who are like actively working. Like you see this on the news of like, oh, BBC reports that this British woman was indoctrinated online and went to join the Islamic State. Like you see stories like that. And like those are like the extreme and also the sloppiest ones. There's a lot more happening out there like that. Not a lot more. Like I'm not going to be extreme about it, but like there's more happening out there than you might think. And you're not hearing about them because they're actually good at what they do. So I'm just gonna let that marinate right there. But yeah, it's gonna be another week. We're gonna continue to try to go through this the best we can, even though the overwhelming liberal majority seems to be sort of like, what were people saying about that two-state solution? It seems like that would make a lot of sense right now. Israelis over here and the Palestinians over here, separate but equal. That seems to make a lot of sense to me.
One of the issues with the two-state solution in the past was the like right-wing extremists in Israel were saying that, okay, if if Palestine gets a state, then we're deporting all the Arab Israelis to that Palestinian state. And that was like one of the old issues. I haven't heard that get brought up in a while, but I remember that was one of the issues back in the day. Like, they were saying like, okay, yeah, Palestine gets a state, then like we're getting these Arabs out of here. And I don't think those Arab Israelis want to leave like that. Like, I don't think they want to go live in the West Bank like that. They might want to visit their cousin, but I don't think they ain't trying to go live in Ramallah like that. So,
yeah. There's some. I mean, like a lot of Americans don't even. They think of it like, and no offense to my Irish friends, but they think like, oh well, you go back to Ireland, you get to figure out your heritage, and you get to go back and look at all these different castles and things to where your lineage was. Which like, that's a cute thing, and I wish like more folks were maybe able to do that more. But for the vast majority of folks in the world, like, there is no lineage for them to go back to. It's been pillaged, it's been destroyed, and for Gazans, that's like especially the case.
Before we end on Gaza and Palestine, let me just mention that, guys, History of Islam Part 2 is done. I really just have to like transcribe it again, because when I do it at first, I make some really ugly notes, and it's kind of stuff be like out of order. But this time, so once I kind of retranscribe it, it'll be done. But History of Islam Part 2 will go through the time from Muhammad's death up until Omar's death. We'll have
Omar Little.
I'll say it the English way. We'll have 2 caliphs, 2 rulers of the Muslim world. There will be 2 in this time frame, but we're going to talk about a lot. Now, the time frame is only like 15 years or something like that, but we're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk about colonization. We're going to get into it. So yeah, become a member at syndicate23.c to the O, and you can get that. Now, I don't know if it's possible, but I would love it if we could like start regular, then go to the members. I don't know if that's possible though. Like, maybe we could just like first 10 minutes or so, like, you know what I mean? And then like, all right, guys, we're about to hit the members joint. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and what I want to do, especially when I get my full setup out here again, I was literally during the show because Bam was boring me. No, I'm kidding. But I was unboxing my new set pieces, and I'm going to have a week to turn whatever is in this. Thank God I'm not showing my address. Whatever's in this box into my set. So we'll do that later. But no, like. I also need to go back to the other coast and get my computer that is powerful enough to stream and do other stuff like this. But I want to like, go back to a lot of different PowerPoint clips, but I want to like make a couple of clips from your History of Islam episodes so that people can, from the original one, so that people can get a taste of what to expect. But also just like, it's just great knowledge in general. I think, ultimately, something in my bones does not want to put good information behind a paywall of any sort of kind, but like, that's just what you gotta do to pay the bills. Eventually Bam's gonna have to leave the country and we're gonna need to raise money to do that. So it's either the history of, I think you do well in the Ivory Coast. I think you do well in Côte d'Ivoire.
But yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna have a lot of information. We're gonna talk more about the Sunni Shia schism a little bit more. And I think that this is the last thing I'll say. I think that my perspective, I don't usually say stuff like this, but I think I have a good perspective when it comes to this because I'm not a believer anymore. So I don't have that like responsibility to like sugarcoat everything. Like if you talk to like an active Muslim about it. And I'll say this also, most Muslim people don't really know much about like the Islamic history like that. It's kind of niche, when I was in the community, I didn't really have that many people to talk about this stuff with because most people didn't really care about this stuff. But one of the things I enjoyed about, my time really learning about Islam was the history, the historical aspect. So, yeah, we're going to have part 2. It's juicy, it's good, but it's a short span of time. Part 3 is going to be wild. It's just, wars and people fighting each other. It's all kinds of infighting, and it's ratchet. Part 2 is a little less ratchet, but we're going to talk about a lot. And we're going to talk about colonization, the originals, the Arabs.
You need season 2 for season 3 to hit. So definitely watch that. It's going to expose all the story. It's going to lay all that stuff out. But no, I'm really excited for that. And I'm got to gear up for the long winter of like probably not leaving my apartment for a couple of weeks. And so having my computer and being able to watch over and edit some of those episodes will be nice. So I just want to make sure that guy was being able to drive past my apartment in an efficient manner. Let's shift gears and talk about from Greater Israel to Greater Russia, and we it's off the charts, quite frankly. I have the like sort of lower third here. Trump and Putin send Ukraine to the chop shop because a lot has happened in international relations, especially in Eurasian international relations since we last did Power Report. We do the show on Thursdays. Occasionally some of the minutes of the show creep into Fridays, but last Friday, Donald Trump had a summit with Vladimir Putin in Greater Alaska. And they met, it was a lot of back and forth. It was originally going to be like a bilateral meeting, or it was going to be Putin and Trump. And then Trump brings in 3 of his goons. And so Putin brings in 3 of his and, like 2 of his, 3 of his, whatever. I think it was like Marco Rubio and someone else on the American side. But there was a lot of talk about how, if Trump doesn't walk out of this meeting with a deal, he's going to be really upset, which quickly got tempered down even before the meeting to deal. So what's deal? Like I didn't write the art of the deal or anything. Like, I'm not here to make a deal. Deal? What do you mean deal? Yeah. So that was eventually the vibe of how Trump was throwing it down. And there's been a saying throughout the war about like there should be no decisions made about Ukraine without Ukraine. Of like, even though this is a proxy war in a lot of ways between Russia and the West, which, I know we have some disagreements about that, and I think that's totally fine. I don't think it's fully a proxy war. I don't think this is just like, I think it's functioning as one. But the part where this starts to come out really out loud, which is Ukraine's like, okay, listen, don't make any decisions without us, because we are, we're allowing you to have this like little playground right here. But at the end of the day, we are supposed to be like a sovereign nation. But there have been a lot of cases where like, the Russians, the Europeans, through NATO, America through NATO, and sometimes as a force without, especially with Trump, have been trying to delineate themselves or separate themselves from necessarily what Ukraine's interests will be. Ukraine's interests are pretty set forth. They don't want to give up any territory. They don't want to give up any territory that Russia has invaded. And that includes, frankly, Crimea, which has been disputed since even the Obama administration. Thanks, Obama. I'm not even going to get into like Trump trying to say that Obama is the reason Ukraine got invaded by Zelensky in big 2022. I'm not even going to touch that part of the story because that's ridiculous. But yeah, this week, European leaders and Zelensky came to Washington, D.C. Again, this time Zelensky needed a little bit of an entourage because of the dressing down rhetorically that he got from Trump and his bottom bitch, sweetest JD Vance, who was making fun of the way literally Zelensky was dressing. And so this time Zelensky came in a better outfit. We're in Black Suit Gate, not just Tan Suit Gate. It's Black Suit Gate, and him and Macron and some other European leaders from the mainland of Europe came to Trump, and they're like, "We're come on, just like, come on, dude. Let's not literally give away every piece of Ukraine for parts, especially without Ukrainian input, especially not without European input." The last thing I'll say about this, just my kind of like what I've been seeing of it from the past week, is that, you know, I think Trump doesn't really give a shit about any of this. He just wants to come out of this looking like he got a deal together so he can give another like bit of credence to his idea of, oh, I am the great peacemaker. I deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for how much peace I'm making. I don't think Trump's in it for any more than that, but I think, you know, people have been replaying that clip of Trump saying that he's going to solve the Ukraine crisis in like a day, right? In 24 hours, the first 24 hours of presidency. And obviously that's like long since gone and past. But I think this week you started to even see Trump like, yeah, like this one's a wash. Like, I don't know. Like, it seems like in a very dementia Don way, he's starting to get bored of it. And he's like, I don't really care anymore. Like, this show is boring to me. Vladimir, I don't give a shit. You figure it out. Go to Yugoslavia or whatever the fuck. I don't care anymore. I think he literally referred to St. Petersburg as like Belgrade or something. Like, he just used the wrong. No, he referred to it as like Stalingrad or Leningrad or something.
Old ass.
So like, dude. That's some like Osmosis Jones level dementia. I know he is just floating in space, having a great time while we are all suffering because he's
floating on those ankles. You know, honestly, like I completely agree with that. I don't think he cares, and there's a part of me that's just like, you know, either like Trump is it's either he doesn't care or he's just ultimately going to do whatever Putin wants, and he's been doing whatever Putin wants this whole time for whatever reason. You know, like it's hard to know, but I think that Ukraine has just asked like for support. You know, I mean Trump and I feel like Trump is like lied too. It's like, he said that they're going to send the Patriot missiles. Like, that has not happened. And yeah, so you're having this just like grand old theater, going to Alaska and walking down a red carpet for no reason. It's just like, what is the point of this, dude? Like, it's silly. And then even the thing in at the White House with Zelensky and all them, it's just a bunch of theater. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like, it just feels like you are going to do whatever Putin wants at the end of the day. And it's just like, I'm not even a Russia gator like that, but it is weird because it's like, you won't even let them buy weapons. like if you're like, we're not going to give them anything for free anymore. Like, okay, cool. But like, you won't even let them buy the shit. So like, you are kind of fully on Russia's side for whatever reason. Now, if it isn't because of any P tapes or anything like that, I think that the real reason is because Trump wants America to be run like Russia, actually. And I'm fully against that. But yeah, you know, they had this meeting, you know, whatever that day was, yesterday or whatever, at the White House, and then that's like the next night, Russia sends like 600 drones and ballistic missiles into Ukraine. So it's like, whatever you're saying or doing, Trump, where you're, oh, he's going to make a deal for me. It's like, no, dude, like, Vladimir Putin has not said at one time that they actually want any kind of peace with Ukraine. He wants to take it over. Like, that's it. They want to kill Zelensky or some shit. Like, that's the situation. And
I mean, like we've seen really fast. I promise, really fast this time. But like, we've seen how Russia took Crimea, how Russia took Donetsk and Luhansk in the Donbas region of Ukraine that now Russia's taking over. It starts by installing someone who is favorable to Putin, then becomes the invasion. Because remember, like, to Putin, it wasn't an invasion. To Putin, it was, oh, it just so happens that Crimea and Luhansk and Donetsk and all these other different regions, their leaders have said that they want independence from Ukraine, and they're coming to us. So therefore, we're just going to move our people. Like, he did this sort of game too, in the same way you can see Trump doing the same too. And yeah, I don't agree with the idea of running Russia or United States the way Trump is talking about it, or the same way Putin's talking about it.
Right. And yeah, and we saw what happened the last time there was somebody favorable to Moscow. There was an uprising. Now, granted, a lot of the people on the left said the CIA did that or whatever. I don't know if the CIA can get that many people on the street. Like, I don't know. But at the end of the day, like,
the CIA couldn't even get, if every CIA agent was ordered to, like, put on their best, like, winter fur hat and go out and march into the street. To march out in the streets of Kyiv or St. Pete, Stalingrad.
No, Stalingrad.
Like, I don't think the CIA is having trouble with their return to office policy. Like, I don't think they can get people to, like, show up in the streets the way you're talking about, to your point.
Right. Yeah. I remember that time, like I was listening to Max Blumenthal and then back then, and I get it, like, for sure there can be an influence by America, but like, there's also like a popular movement going on too, you know what I mean? But anyway, the situation with Ukraine is unfortunate because on a daily basis there are Ukrainian civilians dying. Now, I'm like, we don't need to get into a back and forth of whether it's a proxy war or not. I do not believe that, because Russia invaded them. Like, it's like, you didn't have to do that. Like, you didn't do it before. Like, just don't invade, dude. Like, and for me, it's like, I'm always against the invader. Like, when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, I'm against Saddam Hussein. When America invaded Iraq, I'm against America.
We don't have to get into it. I'm just going to say, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I don't think it's just a proxy war, but I think that, once the invasion happened, like, I don't think it was like a literal smoke-filled room. Again, we don't need to litigate this, because I think it's not even here nor there to the point where we all honestly agree on it, because these debates happen on Democracy Now! All the time too, and this is even one of those. Because, like, I'm not trying to get into Putin's psyche or whatever about, like, oh, well, it was really NATO who started. Like, I'm not even arguing from that point. I'm saying that yes, the war is what it is on paper. Russia invaded Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting for their sovereignty, but I'll leave it at, I don't think that the NATO member states in Europe or, Canada or the United States, to the extent that they're involved, I don't think they're just sending aid to Ukraine out of the goodness of their hearts. Because otherwise, the Congo is on line 2. Sudan is on line 3. You've got a lot of there's value here for the
Congo is a civil war. Sudan is a civil war. So, I mean,
so is Russia, Ukraine. They're all the same. I'm kidding.
And there are countries that are supporting one side or the other when it comes to Sudan and the Congo. So whatever. It's a big mess at the end of the day, and for me, it's just, I don't want to see no wars, and it's unfortunate that anybody got to be sitting in their freaking apartment and get blown to pieces, like, anywhere in the world. Like, it's really unfortunate. And Putin is not some freaking, like, 5D chess nice guy. Like I don't even want to get back into what happened in Chechnya when he first came into office. But either way, I think that because Donald Trump is just, like, playing a game with the situation, it's really annoying. And it's even worse since I think now that
the whole Epstein shit is happening. Like, it's like he wants to make an even bigger show out of it. Like, I'm going to even meet with him, and I'm going to go and I'm going to meet with Zelensky and friggin' Mertz and all these. It's like, dude, like, I just feel like at the end of the day, Donald Trump is going to do whatever Putin wants. I'm not going to get into why, but that's just what has been the case either way. What does it say? Russia. Let me put this on here because don't make me have to. Russia has said it's because of Ukraine joining NATO and the mobilization of nukes closer to Russia's borders. NATO is the root of the issue technically. Now I'm going to have to disagree with that because America has nukes in Turkey. America has nukes in Turkey. You know what I'm saying? Like they could nuke Russia whenever they want. And I don't think that NATO. I don't think that I'll just say this. You should go look at Putin's. I don't know if it was a speech or he wrote something right before Russia invaded in 2022. Just go look at what Vladimir Putin said. And you tell me if he mentioned NATO in there. Right before Russia invaded 2022, Vladimir Putin had a statement. You tell me if Vladimir Putin mentioned NATO. As a matter of fact, Russia is allies with NATO countries and they're just fine. Russia does just fine with Germany, does just fine with Turkey. Russia ain't really tripping off NATO like that. But,
Yeah, like I have a more nuanced opinion than Bam on a lot of the stuff around Russia and Ukraine, some of the stuff, but like on this part I totally agree with, right? Like Putin's own words when it came to like the justification that he gave in Russian to the invasion of Ukraine was pure like manifest destiny. It was this idea of
imperialism.
It was pure imperialism. It was this idea of ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia has been sunned by not being able to claim our rightful territories. We used to have, you think Kyrgyzstan is Middle Eastern? No, that used to be the Soviet Union. Like that's like, I'm now kind of like adding some color to it, but fundamentally it wasn't like a screed about how, NATO is just a front for Western economic agendas. And, I was totally fine with Zelensky, but that fucking Nord Stream 2, like, no, like that was not in the speech.
I'm going to answer this question. Do you understand what NATO is? NATO has gone and bombed Afghanistan, the great power of the Taliban. NATO went and bombed the great power of Gaddafi's Libya. At the end of the day, NATO, like, it's mutually assured destruction at the end of the day, dude. Like, what is NATO going to do to Russia that Russia can't do to NATO countries? Like, at the end of the day, nobody's trying to die in a nuclear holocaust here. So, I don't, like, not only did Vladimir Putin not mention NATO when he invaded Ukraine, he's not under some threat by NATO because he also is allied with NATO countries. A NATO country shot down a Russian airplane in Syria. Turkey shot down a Russian airplane. And you know what they did? They talked about it. It didn't start World War III. Vladimir Putin is a warmonger, and his legacy, even like, I understand there's tankies, but to me, unfortunately for him, his legacy is with Saddam Hussein and George W. Bush. That's your legacy now. If you were ever, because I might be one of the few, but I supported Russia intervening in Syria. I supported that, actually. But I don't support you invading your neighbor, your smaller neighbor, and literally just killing civilians all damn day. What is the point of bombing apartment buildings and drone bombing schools and shit? What is the point of that? You are now George W. Bush and Saddam Hussein. That's who you are now. And that's unfortunate. I don't know how the tankies live with that. How do you support somebody that is bombing apartment buildings? Just because America did it? America's fucked up too.
Yeah, and like I hate to go into all of this, but before I did whatever I'm doing with my life right now, and I was joking about this the other day with some friends I had in college, but like, no, back when you're in college and you think that your degree actually relates to what your job is actually going to be, like, I thought that there was a play for me to do international relations. And so I got really into the history of, my eyebrows only raise up when people are talking about trade, when someone brings up the GATT. When someone brings up the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade from the predecessor to the WTO, pre-World War II predecessor to the WTO, that's when I'm like, okay, this person's fucking serious. Okay.
I thought I was a nerd.
Are we talking about the League of Nations? Are we talking about God, what was it? The Western Union Defense Organization, WUDO? Are we talking about that? Then don't say, damn it, I don't know about NATO. We know what this is, and I'm not gonna say Bam's not willing to be cynical, but like I'm definitely willing to be cynical about NATO and like their, I think it's a walk and chew gum thing too. I think that NATO frankly sees Ukraine, especially some of like the Eastern European members of NATO, are like, well, fuck, if that's Ukraine, Poland's like, hey, dude, what? Like, right. Okay, then right. Yeah, we're a little bit pressed right now. Like, let's actually start to do something. I don't think France or Germany has those same issues because they have bigger militaries to speak of and they have like distance to speak of when it comes to those sorts of things. But no, like, Hungary and Belarus are not they're more friendly to Putin than they are to NATO, and they're sitting right along those borders. And so reading Emerald Jack's comment here, no, absolutely Putin's a war criminal, not excusing Putin of the invasion. I think we're on the same page, but some of us lack a bit of the historical context around this very specific alliance. I mean, honestly,
that's not me you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like, maybe we haven't expressed the entire history of the alliance here, but if we agree, then I'm not sure if the history, it's not that it's not relevant, but whatever historical markers you're talking about are probably the historical markers that are built into what Bam and I are talking about as well. So yeah, like and again, like I'm not a 0 to 100. I don't think that NATO expansion has nothing to do with what's going on, but I also just don't take this sort of like face value understanding that, again, admittedly, they're smart scholars that go on Democracy Now! To debate this stuff like all the time, right? Like there are people who believe like that this is more caused by Western imperialism than Russian imperialism. And I think that that's just like not necessarily the case. Like the reason why NATO exists, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why NATO has been used and why NATO exists, but the fundamental reason why NATO exists is because there is a deeply ingrained mistrust between Western Europe and Russia and its like sphere of influence, not necessarily with Ukraine, but definitely with a Belarus or a Syria or a Kyrgyzstan or Estonia or Hungary or some of these other countries, right? Like there's a fundamental distrust and there's a lot of nuclear weapons to distrust about, right? Like that's fundamentally why NATO exists. That's why WUDO failed. That's why, all these other like older institutions, that's why they failed. But also why people made efforts to them, because like we prefer boring conversations in tall glass buildings to another blitzkrieg, right? Like we don't want to rebuild Europe again. We prefer to have some very boring conversations with NYPD who's about to arrest me. But like that's why a lot of these things exist, and they're used for a lot of other different like much like USAID, like, yes, of course, there's some like CIA stuff that kind of like weaves throughout within there. But the goal of USAID, for example, is pretty explicit as well. It is soft influence. It's to say, hey, you're not getting this Band-Aid by pledging allegiance to George W. Bush, to be really crude about it. Like, you're not getting this medication to be because you pledge allegiance to George W. Bush. You're gonna get this medication. I'm gonna keep giving you this medication. There's no strings attached. We're gonna put a little American flag in the corner, so you know that we've done some fucked up shit, but we're trying. Okay, like we're trying. Like that's what it is, right? When they drop us like that, like meaningless aid in Gaza that ends up like killing people as it's falling down. When they put the little French flag on it, it's like we're not that bad, okay? Like that's kind of the whole point of that aid. So yeah, there's soft power in all of these different things, but like,
Well,
I don't think we need to have this sort of like, I want to mute myself very quickly because it's getting loud outside, but like, I don't want to have this like sort of zero opinion of like, oh, it has nothing to do with imperial expansionist interest, or it has nothing to do with NATO, perceived NATO expansion. Like, all these things are complicated, especially when you go to a world context. I appreciate you, Emerald, for like being willing, at least it seems, compared to some other trolls we have, to entertain that complexity.
I'll say this too. Like, I think that if Putin was so concerned about NATO expansion, like it wouldn't, him invading Ukraine wasn't going to help that. Like, and also like it's a 3.5 year war where like he said that it was gonna be over in 3 weeks. Like, it's been a shit show for Russia. Like, it's been like at one point their country was occupied by Ukraine. Like, so I don't think that this fool is out here making some calculated decision. I'm going to invade Ukraine and kill their president, and then NATO's going to be so scared they're going to back off. If I think if he was really like, I'm going to do this so they stop NATO expansion, he would have realized like a year and a half ago that it's not really going his way. So let me just like bow out and say, we achieved our goals. Let me just back out now, because it looks bad that you have this big ass country with all these weapons and y'all still haven't beat Ukraine. Like, it looks pretty pathetic, actually. Now, this Bill Gates thing, I'm gonna let you handle this Bill Gates thing. I'm not going down that road. I'm gonna use the restroom.
Totally. No, I was just gonna like, to your point, Bam, like, yeah, like just how the United States, and I've made this analogy so many times on this show and like in other contexts too, but just how you have the case where, okay, now I know what it's like for Bam, where the lower thirds covering me a little bit, but I'm gonna try my best here to fight the sneeze while Bam is gone. But you can't kill an idea. Terrorism can't be bombed away. And so any sort of like insurgent sort of feelings that you think you're seeing from a like, if the concern was imperialism or expansion, that's if the concern is imperialism or expansion that's happening to you, if the response is to imperialize and expand in another direction, and you're not like decisively winning in 10 days or less, then you're not doing anything except, if you started the war saying, hey, I don't like how cozy Ukraine is getting to foreign powers or foreign interests that are outside of my control. So what I'm going to do is attack them so that they are forced to be pushed into wanting protection from forces that are outside of my control. Like, it makes no sense. Putin would have had more of a chance to like have an imperial stake over Ukraine if it was like Puerto Rico. Like, if it was a state that was just, it was a territory, maybe they didn't have rights, like the same rights that Russian citizens had to like vote or whatever, but they were, given services. If they were like a commonwealth, so to speak, like that would be almost a better way to go about it. But not quite otherwise. Also, Night Lefty, good in chat. I'm going to have you on soon for some Canada stuff. I'm just reading this stuff here, and I'll go really quickly for Felipe's thing because it's here. Remember when Bill Gates said there was no point in giving the COVID vaccine IP to poor countries because no lab in a poor country could make it? Then a South African company reverse engineered the Moderna vaccine while we were still arguing about it. And then the next week, the NYT came out with a list of 5 labs in poor countries that could produce the vaccine. Yeah, like that's another thing. Like rich countries. I did see that. Like rich countries were developing the vaccine, and then they were playing with other poor countries to be like, okay, what deal do you want to make? Like you can have the vaccine for this like deadly disease that's like killing millions of people across the world, but like it's gonna cost you how much you willing to pay for it. Until a bunch of other countries. In fact, like there's this whole thing saying, oh, you can't trust China's COVID vaccine. It's it's not safe. Meanwhile, it was perfectly fine. It was just cheaper. It was just cheaper than the AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson sort of vaccines that were produced in the West and were sold and propagated out there. The thing that made the Chinese vaccine dangerous and all these other like poor country vaccines dangerous was that, that's right. Western companies and Western drug manufacturers couldn't make a profit off of it. That was the main thing, if I remember correctly.
I wouldn't count South Africa as a poor country.
That's also a valid point. But do they got it like America? I don't know. I don't know what country Elon Musk is paying his taxes. Maybe it's South Africa. But I want to kind of shift gears here slightly. So I guess it's like the last thing for this sort of story. But here is a selection of politicians or political figures who were at that meeting, the European like meeting with Trump to talk about Ukraine. You have the Italian Prime Minister, the President of the European Commission, the German Chancellor, the Secretary General of NATO. You have Zelensky, you have the Prime Minister of Finland, and you have all the like white nationalist creeps that are like around Trump as well.
I think the right, like the kind of international, Steve Bannon right, is upset about the Italian Prime Minister because, her party is like Franco's party. And I think that they thought that she was going to be a lot more aligned with Russia, and she has not been. Or at least like more like they thought she was going to be like the pro-Russia.
More like an Orban.
Right. Yeah, like the anti-Euro Orban to an extent, because that fool he be kind of capping, but like they definitely thought she was going to be like the anti-Europe, pro-Russia, right-wing person, and she hasn't been that. So yeah, I think, and I don't know. She ran big on anti-immigration, and I don't know to what extent that's been taking place in Italy. Not like I keep up with Italy like that, but yeah, I was kind of shocked to see her attend that meeting as well. Excuse me.
Yeah, to your point, sure, Orban is doing a lot more talking than walking. Like I completely agree there, but like, does it matter? Like, I think what works for MAGA, and especially what works for the Trump administration, is people who use strongman, sort of like strong arm takeover tactics to make like a big, spin in the news, to make like a big, like, big like thing about it in the news cycle. But ultimately, they like it just doesn't hold up, right? Like, here's what I'm trying to say. I was distracted because like my thing stopped charging for a moment. I'm like, oh no, this is That's an issue. But anyways, like, I don't think like Nayib Bukele, for example, right? In El Salvador, I don't even think he's about it like that. But what the right wing likes him, like the Steve Bannon sort of like international right wing project, what they like about him is that he's corruptible, meaning that he cares about money. That doesn't necessarily mean he's an oligarch or he's like successful or anything like that. That doesn't matter. You don't have to be successful. Trump bankrupted casinos, but you can make a deal with him and flash some like, you know, stacks, some hangers in front of him, and you will get results from Donald Trump. You will get results from Viktor Orban. You will get results from a Vladimir Putin. The people, you know, on the center right and the center left in Europe and America who like balk at these sort of like complete obvious bribery schemes, those are the ones who are against the MAGA movement. They're the deep state because they abide by like rules and laws and guidelines and things like that. And if the people like Steve Bannon believe someone like Zoran Mamdani was a socialist, but someone who they could bribe, then they'd be supporting Zoran Mamdani. Like, that's the thing.
Or Maduro.
Yeah, like it's not about ideology. Like communism and socialism is really easy. And usually when Republicans, especially in America, are saying communism or socialism, they basically mean that like, oh, we can't bribe them our way. That's usually what it is. And MAGA and the Republicans mean that on the nose, like literally, we can't pay them money. And Democrats say, oh, you know, we can't have an NGO start a, you know, little development city in your country, or, you know, like we can't make a deal for Boeing to make some jets in Niger. To, you know, like, that's the Democratic, like liberal way of doing corruption, of like, you know, we'll have our companies scratch your back, so your companies scratch our back. You know, like, you know, that's how we make our nut, right? But this is now an entirely different paradigm, where if you are corrupt, then that's what the MAGA sort of coalition really wants from people.
For sure. But yeah, like the last thing I'll say about the Ukraine thing, I'll just repeat what I said before. Like, I just wish that this whole theater could be over. Like, it's annoying because nothing's happening. And, you know, there's like this teasing of a ceasefire, teasing of a quote unquote deal, which I even hate that terminology when it comes to this. But, you know, but every night there's people dying. Actually, going back to what you actually said, Trump getting bored with the whole situation. That's what happened with the Israel and Gaza situation with him. He said they were like, "Oh, we're pulling out. Like Hamas is not negotiating in good faith." And then, like a day or two after, Israel was put under enough pressure to start allowing aid into Gaza, start allowing some aid, also, and not the aid where they shoot you when you go get it. But so yeah, you know, hopefully Trump is getting bored or whatever. Maybe like the actual people that care or want to end this can go do their thing without America.
We hope. Not necessarily expecting it though. Also, sorry, I'm messing around. Like my charger that I rely on to keep everything going just died out. It looks like it's not died out. It's still working. It's just not working great. So we can still do the show. I've got enough battery for that, but I definitely got to buy another new one of those soon. What? Let's see. I was looking at stories. We talked a lot about. Go ahead.
So I think we did them all.
I think we got 5 left on here. No. There's I mean, we talked a little bit about like the things that are generally happening domestically. Like, I don't know if you saw like, well, I do want to talk a little bit about what's happening domestically. I mentioned this in passing in the very beginning of the show, but Trump sending National Guard to DC and all these different like federal agents who have now been newly deputized to cause all this destruction in DC. Where, like, I don't know, what do you think about these red state leaders who are doing this? Like, what do you think, like, the governor of South Carolina, for example, gets out of sending federal agents to DC? And, you know, do you think they're actually going to get what they think they're getting? Or, like, are they about to get played just the same?
I think that they're just cucks for Trump. This situation is really like I saw some videos of those like federal agents in DC that like made my blood boil. I was like so mad watching these like punk ass white boys walking up to some dudes and saying like, "Hey, you know, you guys can't drink outside," and they're like, "Do I live here?" And then one of them was like, "Okay, I don't need you getting snippy with me," or some bullshit like that shit like that like makes me really fucking mad. I don't even know what the hell the National Guard's doing. Like, what are these guys doing? Just like walking around in hot as hell in fatigues. But like these federal agents like walking around it's so embarrassing for them in particular to be walking around some neighborhood talking about, oh, you know, well, Trump said that Trump said that you guys can't be smoking weed or whatever the fuck. Like this is like next level embarrassing. And these governors, I saw South Dakota, South Carolina, Ohio sending their National Guard. Like what? Like for these fiscally responsible fucking Republicans, what a waste of money. Like, what a waste of money that you're sending these people. It really looks like it's just like how they're doing with ICE. They're you know wanting to give them $100,000 and $50,000 bonuses while Dan sniffs a line underneath the desk. It looks like
How else are we going to stay awake?
like this almost just seems like, oh hey, we're gonna like give you some bonus to go walk around in DC. You know what I really would be curious about with these National Guard soldiers that are there? I wonder if they're sending black ones to DC. Like I would really love to see if they're sending black National Guardsmen there.
Are they sending them specific? I mean,
like, are they sending just white boys? Are they sending like the white guys?
I don't think they're sending. I don't think there's a line that says only the white National Guardsmen go to DC. I don't think there's a line that says we're especially making sure that all the black National Guardsmen go to DC. I just think that there's like many things in America, a disproportionate number of a disproportionately low number of National Guardsmen who are black. And
there's plenty of National Guards. There's plenty of black people in National Guards. But I just wonder.
I think there's plenty. But my question is, do you think it's 13% of the National Guard population? Do you think it's more? Or do you think it's less? I think it's less. I think I
don't know. But I just
don't know either. I think it's less, and I don't know if they're like sending, "Hey, Blackie, you go out to DC," or like conversely, "Hey, you Whitey, you're out to DC only." I'm not sure.
Well, I could see them wanting because they know the demographics of like they know these people, like the governor or like whoever's their commanding officer, like knows who they are. Like I wonder if they're like on purpose because they're going to police black people in DC, like that's or to walk around the black neighborhoods or whatever. Like I wonder if they're like doing that on purpose to say like, well, let's not take one of them over there. Because, you know, if it goes up, you know, they might not want to kill Dontrell. You know, they might not want to bust a cap in, like, Tracy's ass. Like, I wonder if in the pictures you're seeing the black soldiers as well.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's like a food for thought. I have seen black and brown people who seem to look like ICE agents, or like are acting like
Oh,
ICE
there's
agents.
brown. Oh, there's definitely brown. The ICE agents got some browns in there. They got plenty.
Detanta Kemrex says, "Can't you guys look it up right now?" I can't see what you mean by it. So
About looking up the demographics of the National Guard.
oh,
Let me look it up right now. What Dan talks.
yeah, you look it up. You may think it's easy, but I'm running on like 2 computers from the 2000s, so it's very hard for me to even stream, let alone look up at other tabs. But
Okay, this says
yeah.
15% Black and 10% Hispanic National Guard.
Okay, so that's actually a lot more like representative of like the population of America being like 13% Black than I would have thought. Which again, like doesn't necessarily surprise me based off of just how generally like reserve services in the United States especially is like a quick route for people to get medical and dental insurance, for education, for paying down debt, a Hellcat, something like that. Whatever the fuck niggas be buying nowadays. I don't know.
It's still Hellcats.
Okay, cool. Glad we got that out of the way. And Looney Tunes. It's not that I haven't upgraded my computer, although my most recent computer is from like, well, that's not true, but neither here nor there. My more powerful computer is just not with me right now. It's gonna take me a couple months to get that back. But
Dan lives next to a stop sign that's hidden by a tree. God damn, dog. Do you live right next to One Police Plaza or what? Like, what is going on here?
Hello, humans. This is your Power Report live from the 33rd precinct.
Does Dan live in COVID times? Because like that shit is like.
No, I will say I've gone from living in between 2 hospitals in California to living in between 2 hospitals in New York. So that's definitely a factor.
Dan's living next to Beth Israel over there.
It's Mount Sinai out here, not Cedar Sinai. So that's a slight difference, but everything else you kind of get used to.
My bad.
Everything else you kind of get used to.
Mazel tov.
Shalom to anyone who takes me in the ambulance, and I hope no one's blocking the street as I'm getting there, basically, because I've been seeing some ambulances that are just stuck for 2 minutes behind some like FedEx vehicle that's like got their hazards on, and I'm like, okay, well, whoever you're rushing to or have in the back, they've coded, like they're done. Like, that's you're driving a hearse with lights now, buddy. That's it.
It's okay. They're rich, because if they weren't, they'd be taking the Uber there.
Yeah, that's real. Ambulances are pretty bougie if you think about it. But yeah. What was I going to get to? So yeah, like here's an interesting like kind of side conversation to this, but I've been trying to tell people, especially my like more liberal friends, like the most hopeful I can be right now is what this looks like if Democrats are able to get a trifecta in 2028 and build towards that in 2026. And I'm like, a lot of people are going to have to go to prison. We're going to have to keep the death penalty. I'm sorry as liberals, but like we're going to have to keep the death penalty. Because if I feel if this was Polymarket and we were doing like, live betting,
We did a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
If this was this type of show, and I would be very bullish. I'd be like above 50% on like, is America going to collapse fundamentally, like as a democracy before the 2028 elections? I'm like, that's pretty likely. But that goes from pretty likely to a guarantee if Democrats win in 2028 and try to go back to this like return to norms.
Return to what?
return to norms.
Oh,
Like if we get Pete Buttigieg back in the office and they go, first thing we do is, we're going to meet with all the red state governors and we're going to have a beer summit and we're going to settle our differences and go back to the Tip O'Neill, Washington D.C., where we argue during the day and then we go out and have drinks and go to restaurants at night, and we're going to bring back that type of politics. If that somehow happens, then I guarantee America's not going to exist in 2032. Because I guarantee, like, the only way you fix this country from what's happening even right now in this first year of Trump, it's not going to be great for the rest of my career to say this, but you've got to send people to jail, and some people are going to need to be put on death row. They're the people who are putting forward this like society that we're seeing in this country. Like, yeah, if you're one of the ICE agents who was putting your knee on the head of an influencer, and you wore a mask while you were doing that, hey, sorry, dude. Like, you got a name, you got an address, you're going to court. Like, we're just following orders did not do very well during the Nuremberg trials, and America is going to need some Philadelphia trials, right? Like, we're gonna need some like Baltimore trials, something, because if you Pete Buttigieg this, you're like, I'm gonna invite John Fetterman over for whatever liquid stroke patients drink, right? Like, like that is, if that is the result after everything that's going on right now, if you're like, hey, Tom Homan, you're an Obama appointee, so like you're welcome to the club, you're welcome to the team, then the country's over. Because for one true reason, like, if there is nothing signaling on a human level, oh, my life and the life of my loved ones is going to be very, very bad if I attempt anything like the Trump administration just did, then that's exactly what's going to happen again. Only this time they're going to be smarter. Trump 1 and Trump 2. Trump is somehow older and dumber and more dementia-addled, but his strategy is better because he learned from the first time. All right? I'm not saying we need to see a third Trump term, but once you see what comes after that, like whether it's Vance or Ron DeSantis, I think Ron DeSantis is like the clearest example of this. It's just going to be evil upgraded. And so you need to be able to say, no, actually, we have a rule against evil upgraded, and there's some really steep penalties for breaking that rule. You don't get a country anymore. Bam has been disagreeing with me, and he loves Rule of Order, and he loves The West Wing by Aaron Sorkin. So I want to hear what his thoughts are.
well, I don't even know if you're joking.
That's the best
part. I don't think that that's the case. It's going to be really annoying if that Pete Buttigieg scenario does play out. But I think that, some of this has just a lot to do with the culture of the population than politicians. Like, there are people that still support what's happening with ICE. Like, there are still people that support it, there are still MAGA cultists that like Trump can do no wrong. I don't know the percentage, and I wouldn't necessarily believe a poll number all the way, but there's still a sizable part of the population that is like, these people are doing the right thing, whatever they're doing. So, I just really believe, like, I think America's going to be around, even if the Pete Buttigieg thing does happen. But things will change when I think the people feel like this is unacceptable, and some of those people within ICE, say like, I'm not doing that, like, and is that possible? I think so. You've seen that happen many places. A lot of places there's been militaries and stuff, and people that were like made to shoot at their own citizens, civilians, and they didn't do it. So, I think
Not
that could
America. I mean,
no.
I'm like,
Yeah, you're right. Not America. I don't think.
I'll say really quickly that like people like America is treated as a sort of place where people and immigrants come around, and it's not this like rose colored. Well, I come here because it's a land of opportunity. No, America is the land where if you want to step on the backs of your neighbors and everyone around you in order to make more money for going back home and being hood rich or doing whatever you want to do, America is the kind of place that will allow that to happen the easiest and the fastest. If you want to step on other people as a ladder to your own success, America is the place to do it. We just have a different mindset. Like, this is the reason why in France, I always joke about this. Like, in France, if you raise the retirement age by a couple months, they're going to light Paris on fire, right? Like, they're going to riot like that. They're going to, the babies got their high visibility jackets on. They're going to go hard in the paint there, right? America doesn't have that kind of social cohesion, and America especially doesn't have that type of social cohesion in an economic crisis, which is what we're getting to right now. And when you're getting ICE agents who are getting $30,000, $50,000 bonuses to be able to be like, yeah, you got to shoot your neighbor in the street. The way they justify it is, hey, I'm going to get me a Hellcat, and those people are criminals anyways. And you know what? I don't even like blacks like that. Like that can totally happen in America, and I think that's literally happening.
And it has. And honestly, I would use the word culture instead of social cohesion. Like, France has had, and we don't have enough time to get into all the history, but like, we have never had a revolution of the people here. Like, the American culture is capitalism, so like, there's never been like a popular movement of the people for like economic reasons in this country. I would hope, and I wasn't disagreeing with you. I'm thinking the way that change could happen is if there's some ICE agents that are saying we're not going to do that. But because of how it is, like you're saying, I want that new demon Hellcat, or at least just a Charger. They're probably not going to do it. You know what I mean? So. But there's historical precedent for it in the world, but the precedent for it in America is Kent State.
Valid. Yeah, I don't know. I want to believe in the better of Americans. I just don't, and I would love to be proven wrong, but like I just don't think those the cards we got dealt. I'm gonna read some stuff in chat. I think there's some conversations here. Broadcasting live from the Fuck Poly Market Studios. Yep, that's.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
My studio in Berkeley used to be called Freeze Peach, because of all the Berkeley protests and it was funny when I was in college. Okay. Anyways, Emerald Jack, how are we supposed to have fair death penalties when our justice system can barely function now, let alone after a low-key civil war? It causes more issue in the long run. The risk of corruption to innocent people getting executed is too high. How can we claim to be better than them if we turn around and do the same thing?
I responded to that. I said that you never said you want a fair death penalty.
Yeah, like that's like, yeah, here's the deal is like, I would have made that same argument. Like, I'm not going to flame you because I would have made that same argument maybe 15 years ago. And I'm making myself sound like an old head, but like that's honestly how long ago I gave up hope in the system because of the things I've seen and the things I've covered. But you think Republicans are asking themselves, hey, wait a second. If we deputize a part of the government that is younger than most of our voters, that being the Department of Homeland Security and their, ICE through that. If we deputize them to wear masks and round up people off the street just for how they look, not for their paperwork, but just because how they look, for profile them. What if the liberals do that too one day? not a single fucking person on the right is saying that. You want to know why? Because they know that the liberals are never going to do that. Like they've just factored that in a game theory kind of way. Like, oh, liberals are never going to like round people up and jail people indiscriminately. They'll be too busy with committees. They'll want to like think about equity. They'll want to like put Xboxes in the prison cells. Like they'll be too busy with that stuff. We can do this because we're ruthless and we don't care. All right, like so. It goes back to kind of like Mehdi Hassan's debate on Jubilee that he did a while ago, where some kid was like, well, you say you're for free speech. Why don't you debate that Nazi? And Mehdi was like, because Nazis don't care about free speech. So why am I going to entertain that? Like, it's just very simple. When the people, like I don't save, like my response to all this is like, I don't save liberal institutions and the privilege of liberal practices. Like, I don't save Robert's Rules of Order for people who want to burn the book. Right? Bam knows I've got the authoritarian side in me, and more often than not, I'd rather that happen because it would get results. People would debate about, the principle and the argument, and okay, well, if Dan does this, doesn't that mean that, evil Dan can also do that? And you know what? Yes. But guess what? You're just going to have to close your eyes for 2 weeks. And then when you open your eyes again, you're going to live in a better country. Don't think about those 2 weeks. It's going to be rough. But after those 2 weeks, a remarkable amount of y'all will still be alive. And we are going to be making like great leap forward levels of progress every single week in this country because of the spring cleaning that I would do as a dictator. And so, like, to my point, like,
see Stalin,
see Pol Pot, but like, let's not save the liberalism, and I'm mostly kidding there, but like, let's not save liberalism and the, oh, if we do this, then that means they get a pass too as well. No, like, there's precedent for this. You can't go, oh, well, if we do the Nuremberg trials and we put them on the stand for the crimes they did during World War II, then what if our troops get put on the Nuremberg trials for the crimes they did during World War II? I'm like, listen, first of all, if that was the case, then sure, because these people have got to go. But second of all, the United States is in charge of the Nuremberg trials. So, like, anyone who did crimes on behalf of the regime, you're straight, buddy. You get to... anyone who committed crimes on behalf of the Allied powers, you got to live the rest of your life as Cotton Hill. Like, you got to live in Texas. You got a nice woman 20 years younger your age, and you got to keep the guns from the Nazis, the Japanese that you stole. Right? Like, that was your Nuremberg trial. But like, when you run the court system, you get to choose the stakes, and how you do that sets the tone for a while. If Benjamin Netanyahu were African or Eastern European, and the International Court of Justice actually applied to him, then yeah, sending him to trial and putting him in jail would be a great thing. Because that would say to Eastern Europe and the continent of Africa that you can't do those kinds of things within the parameters of these locations. But it's okay everywhere else. And I say that sarcastically, but it's okay everywhere else because everywhere else controls those courts. And if you have someone who's in the club who breaks the rules, then it doesn't matter. We already live in the world you're describing. So let's start to put out these things for good. Let's start to say, okay, if you do these bad things, we're going to erase you from history. And if you do these good things, then you get to live. Then, yeah, that's a much better way we can go about our culture. And, like, again, I'm not going to make this go over a full thing, but like, Fox News literally uses the same fear-mongering tactics to legitimize their hate for the people like us. But here's the thing. Fox News is fear-mongering about things that don't exist. I'm being relatively calm about very terrible things that are happening right now. And so, like, these sort of like theoretical arguments about liberalism are not meeting this moment. And that's why, like, the people who are saying, oh, if Gavin Newsom starts to gerrymander California, then, we're at a race to the bottom. It's like breaking news. We're already at a race to the bottom. California's already gerrymandered. Texas is already gerrymandered. It's about to get worse. And if we don't do something right now, it's about to get to the point of no return, which we kind of are already there. But it's about to get even worse and even less chance of a return if we don't do anything right now. Time?
I feel it. I'm with you. That I agree. All that. Dictator Dan, let's go.
Bam's like 9:01. We're done. Okay, yeah. That's all. I'm trying to put a redirect here, but I don't see Riverboat live yet. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for listening and watching. Thank you all for the good conversation. Also, who was this? I want to read this last one. No pressure. Just a reminder, touch base with Haitian NB Leftist Jelly on Discord if you're interested in doing something. Just did a documentary on Haiti. They, like you, are a true internationalist, pragmatist edgelord with some smoke for everybody. I love that, Felipe. I'm going to check. I don't know if they're in our Discord, but I'll like look around. NB Leftist Jelly. Yeah, I'm going to save that and I'll look around for them because that'd be great. And one thing I want to get back to doing is more like interviews on Power Report. So that's right up my alley, truly. But force them to join your Discord. Awesome. Thank you.
But in the meantime, we're going to be doing History of Islam Part 2, y'all. Oh, yes. It's right here. History of Islam Part 2. I'm going to be talking a lot. Oh, my God. We're talking about Abu Bakr. We're talking about Omar. We're talking about Ali. A little bit about Muhammad, Musaylim al-Kadhab. All these people, they're getting talked about. Oh, yes. And we're going to talk about colonization. We're going to talk about how the Arabs invented the European-style colonization. Oh, yes, they did. Oh, yes, they did. We're going to talk about it.
There's this one video game I used to play back in the day called Prince of Persia. Will we be covering that too?
Yes, because he was jumping really far from the buildings. He was jumping really high. And that actually, they invented that too. Now, yes, there will be a Persian that gets talked about by name in there. Oh, he's very famous. And he was very famous in Iran. They can't really
talk about Assassin's Creed?
That guy. They can't really talk about him too much in the open these days in Iran. But, oh no, Philippe, they didn't steal it from the Romans. No, they did something totally different. But you know what you're going to have to do? You got to become a member and tune in to History of Islam Part 2 to hear about it. Why? Because we're only going to do like 10 minutes for everybody. And then the rest is going to be on the members joint.
Yeah, Part 1's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And
that's
like,
it. It felt like 3 hours.
And you know what? Bam says that. But this, if you want Power Report without me, which y'all have gotten quite a bit of this year, I am just like, I'm asking even fewer dumb questions than possible. I'm just running a PowerPoint presentation pretty much, right? Bam's doing all the work. So y'all are going to love that. Y'all got to check that out. If you're watching on this space, then please continue watching and check out the next thing that's on there as well. Shout out to Looney Tunes and everyone, Pinkerbell and Bad Lefty and everyone who's like modding for all that stuff. You all rule. You're all awesome. We're going to get more into this kind of conversation about what you can actually do during these times because it's rough, but I think collective action is necessary and directed and smart collective action is going to be really crucial in these coming days, weeks, months, and years. So remember that the power is always within you. Peace.
Yeah.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.